Hi there, and welcome to another Saturday morning with Trusler and Mac. Woo! I almost botched that. Yes. So I am Trusler, one of your hosts, and with me is Mac. How you doing, Mac?
It's a wonderful morning to have a podcast. And I know I've been doing so many recordings, I've been saying it. Trust me, it's going to stop soon. But, man, can't help it. Just what's been happening recently. It's just so amazing. Can't contain my joy.
Well, that's good. That's good. It's good to be happy about those sort of things, and we'll get into that and whatnot. But before we get into that real quick, I did want to kind of mention to anybody who is listening and whatnot, I totally forgot to say this on the second episode. Mentioned it in the first one, but offer still out there if you are interested in joining Mac and I for a recording and whatnot. Please let us know. Send me a private message or tweet me or whatever. That stuff will be down in the information boxes and stuff. So, with that said, is there anything you want to add there, Mister?
Down in the box right there. Now, seriously, if you do want to have a good old chat to us, either private message, even turn on my cell phone. You can see our respective channels, I think, on our recommended channels sort of column in our YouTube page.
Probably not, because I'm a cheeky...
We'll rectify that.
Yeah, a note to self, add recommended. Writing that now.
Just to go off tangent, do you remember back in the old days when we started and we had some amazing kick-ass YouTube pages where it was nice, compact, and if someone commented on your channel, you could see it right there straight away?
What? Convenience in a website known as YouTube?
Man, I'd do anything for that layout back. I just would have looked better than it does now, man. I don't know.
Yeah, it's kind of, I think that's really put a hindrance on a lot of different people who are just kind of doing the whole YouTube things to just really connect with other people. It's been a bit, maybe in some ways not so difficult, but in other ways, if you're doing videos and whatnot, it just gets buried under just a bunch of other stuff. It's unfortunate. But oh well, that's okay. We do have some news to actually kind of go over here, so we should go into that, shouldn't we, my good sir?
We should definitely.
Right. Well, I did want to put this one up first here, and that is BioWare is hiring. So if you want to go to good old Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, you could join the quality analysts or the gameplay specialist of BioWare's /EA. I know you want to do it, Greg, don't you?
Man, BioWare's interesting. Like, I haven't played a game from them in ages. I know my dad does, but because he was one of the first people that got Dragon Age Inquisition Week 1. But I've never been, like, huge on Dragon Age or Mass Effect for that way. And, I mean, I don't hate those games. I just never had time for them. And I'm pretty sure there's all people out there that have games like that they buy or they have in their family where it's like it's there, but they just don't have time for it. And BioWare games are always them. I think for me, the last big BioWare game that I invested time to was Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic. But the two for me that I really sunk my claws into, and of course these were in conjunction with Black Eye, was the Baldur's Gate games. I played those games for an insane amount of hours. So, in terms of, like, BioWare's catalog, I like their older stuff, most definitely. Just haven't been able to get into the newer stuff, because I've just been occupied with other games. So, but they're, like, all the Dragon Age games is available to me, so I can play them at any time.
I'll be honest, I've never really played BioWare games. I don't have a desire, but I don't have any sort of animosity towards it. I'm just like, okay, there's just too many damn games, so you kind of got to pick and choose which ones. I just don't choose those. But the thing I want to bring up about this is the whole, like, the quality analyst aspect of it. So there's some like primary responsibilities, and that's like, yeah, develop, implement multiplayer testing methodology to ensure quality multiplayer gameplay and levels, provide gameplay balance feedback and critique, work directly with content creators, document and maintain test coverage documents for assigned content, develop and act upon a plan for applying test coverage to assigned content throughout the, there's a lot of stuff here.
Mm.
And it's just like this, this is kind of, it's sort of gameplay testing. Well, not sort of, but I mean, it seems like, you're going into like level design and whatnot, for especially for multiplayer stuff, how combat works out. And I have a friend, at least one friend, but I have a friend who used to actually do like the quality testing for video games and whatnot. And he told me that it was some of the, I mean, this might be a bit different, but he told me that some of the stuff he had done was incredibly dull. Like, he had to play through the Spanish version. Mind you, he doesn't speak Spanish. He had to play through the Spanish version of Pokemon Yellow to try to break the game. And so he's, I guess that's a good way to do it, is by having somebody who doesn't even know what they're supposed to be doing just kind of roaming around. But the one he told me about, that he just, I don't know how he could have tolerated this, and I always think of him whenever the song gets referenced, but he had to do testing for Donkey Kong 64.
Oh, wow.
And he would have to sit there and watch the whole opening of the DK rap and everything before he could press a button, or different combinations of buttons to try to break the game.
I've heard plenty of stories in my time through podcasts, through articles about people that's worked in quality testings, and I know back in the day a lot of people thought that was the job to do. You get to play video games for a living, but you don't understand. You couldn't play them the way you wanted to. You had to follow a set of guidelines. You had to find errors in the game. Like, you hear about people like that to do platforming games, and you had to jump on certain platforms in a certain way. You would have to die a certain way to see if it would trigger anything. You really have to be very methodical with the game, and I really do admire those people who stick in those hard hours to find all the necessary bugs there is. Which is, I would like to take this time to say to Bethesda, you have a mighty game development team, but I sincerely think you should hire more quality testers. I mean, your games are huge, but having a dad whose favorite series is the Elder Scrolls series, he constantly talks about all the bugs he finds in the game, and it always brings me a huge laugh just to think, wow. But at the same time, I say to myself, they are kind of the biggest masses of landscape in video games, so I can understand that there would be a ton of bugs that people would, they wouldn't have enough time to kind of get all the bugs out there. So I can kind of give them a free pass. You know who I won't give a free pass to? Ubisoft. No, that shit with Assassin's Creed Unity, that was poor. That was just...
Still bitter about that?
Well, it's funny because I haven't got the game yet, because I will play... I was a steady player of the Assassin's Creed series, and I think I just kind of stopped at Revelations. Now I've got this whole bunch of them to play, but when I saw what has happened to Unity, I was like, yeah, I'm going to wait half a year before I buy that. And I was just like, because I saw like all the stuff that was happening, I was just like, man, to release a product like that. And you know what's funny? I think one of my Australian YouTubers, basically how the production company or the gaming company, they make it seem like it's a favor to fix these games. Like, we're going out of our way to fix these games for you. And he made a point like, congratulations, you met the basic requirement for doing your job. And I was
Damn.
I was just I as soon as I heard that, I just clapped. I was just like, fan bloody tastic, because man, these days, I've been talking to a lot of friends, and I would say in this day of age, if a game gets delayed, it's the best news possible. Like, back in the day when the young game gets delayed, you're like, oh, that's unfair. But nowadays, it's like, fuck yes, that means the game's going to come out a little bit better than it intended was. That's why people were getting angry over the Legend of Zelda Wii. It's like, they really announced it not too long ago. I would be very concerned if they released it within a year. So the fact that they pushed it to next year, I'm like, no, that's kind of giving me some relief. So,
Well, yeah, it's something that I will say, having not been a buyer of a lot of the more modern games, I haven't had as big of an issue with it. Company we both know and love, Nihon Falcom, they have their issues right out of the gate with some of their games that they come out, but those guys are like lickety split, boom, we got a fix for it within like 10 hours. They're like, oh, we totally forgot a line of code, fixed. Kind of thing. They're pretty good about having updates and keeping everything abreast if there's some sort of bug or whatnot. Thank God. But,
yeah, that was mainly all the recent Legend of Heroes games, and yeah, they were very quick. I downloaded the patch for Sen no Kiseki, which it did fix a lot of things, and it was like the faster load times, which was very appreciative. So
yeah, well, I remember the PC version of White Witch had a bug in it. And so I didn't know this when I had bought it and whatnot, so I tried playing it. And of course the game had been out forever, but I was just like, what the fuck? Why does it keep on, for whatever reason, it was something to do with XP, and you'd had to have some sort of a few lines of code or this patch to download and then fix it, but it would seriously crash after or during the first battle. The first little minuscule battle in the game, so I was livid because I didn't know, it's not like something I could just say, hey, somebody else who has the PC version of a fucking game that's been out for 10 years, what's wrong with this? I had to do mind you, it wasn't a lot of work, but I mean, I had to do some research and look into it and be like, oh, there's a patch for it, so. Damn it, patches.
the only Falcon game I ever had a really big problem with, but it was mainly Xseed's responsibility to fix it, was when East Origin was first release. I was an early adopter, and there were some rooms I would go into and the game would crash. So, but I was so persistent. I somehow sort of went in the door a different way, and I would always find a way to sort of go past them. Because that's the thing with Steam. I love Steam games, but some of them have errors right out of the gate. But like you said before with Falcom and most of their games, they're very quick about patching them. So, and they constantly patch them, which is good. It's not like, oh, we're only going to do it for a week or two. No, they constantly patch them. If they find an error, 6 months later, they'll patch it, which is just fantastic.
Yeah, so. Go! I'll have a link for it. Go and apply to BioWare, people, if you so choose.
Might be working on Mass Effect 4. Who knows?
Dun dun dun. So, baton pass over to you there.
Alrighty, to continue on from one of our biggest pieces of news last week, and probably the best moment of gaming in 2015 for me is. Koji Igarashi's project was finally unveiled, and it is Bloodstained Ritual of the Night, which is a spiritual successor to his Metroidvania series. And I'm happy. I'm a very happy man. This is probably, without a doubt, one of the coolest Kickstarter campaigns I have ever seen. Just the amount of detail and planning that went into this was fantastic. Not only did they have all this great concept for the game out, but he produced this wonderful little video for everyone, and it really hit home with a lot of people how they feel about today's gaming industry. Did you watch that video, by the way, Taylor?
I'm going to be honest, I actually did not look at any of this. I seen the Kickstarter page, but I'm going to be honest, it's because the whole quote-unquote castle, the Metroidvania style. I'm not really. I'm kind of like, oh, cool. Everybody else can be able to experience more fun games. I'm a little on the. I'm very sad that it wasn't just another kind of old school
Well,
kick you in the teeth.
we'll get.
That's the thing.
Hold on, we'll get to some recent news that might change your mind, but
Okay.
basically in this awesome he kind of did the whole draft thing, which is awesome. But he talked about how game developers don't understand what gamers don't want, and it's like he basically talked about how he's been to so many developers and they've all said the same thing: no one wants these type of games. And I just think this is so deliciously ironic that people do want these games, because as of now he's gone over the 2 million mark. And he only wanted 500,000 to fund the game. So he's funded the game all 4 times over. And I'm just like...
Well, that kind of goes hand in hand with the Ukulele Kickstarter, with the Mighty Number 9 Kickstarter. People want these games. Maybe because they're not as profitable as some of the other stuff that comes out. Or
Yeah,
there's an article for something that I have. Maybe it won't make the profits that something else might make, but they're just kind of like, whatever. This is chump nonsense. Nobody plays this garbage anymore.
yeah,
That's totally not the case.
But I was thinking of it because I was talking to other people. It's like, this is going to kind of change the dynamic. I mean, people already talked about this before, but this is kind of a great example that it could be true. I don't think the main developers are going to contend with them, because they're going to keep searching out the audience that they think they have in their mind. As for old school gamers, I think most major developers understand that we're not going to please them. It's only stuff like Kickstarter that's going to make these people happy. And it just like, it makes me wonder if it's going to kind of break sort of the bases in two, in a good way, where the old people can be less pissed off at the current developers for changing. They just go to Kickstarter to fund their love of gaming, and while the new age gamers can get their fun from the developers we grew up with, that's kind of changed their tune with a lot of things. So I'm all for that, giving my money directly to the developers, and I actually paid for the $100 tier for me. And I know
Oh, okay.
people were like, really? It's like, yeah. And it's like, what? Did you want the lapel pin or the keychain? No, I want my name in the credits to associate my name with a series, or say a spiritual successor to a series that I generally am a huge fan of for a very long time. It makes me really happy, man. And I was talking to a couple of friends, like they're doing the credit tier as well, so they're really happy as their name's going to be in the credits as well. Which is going to be insane, by the way, because it's about 3,000 backers of that tier. So when they get to the credits part, it's just going to be a...
Yeah, I wonder if they do like a thing where you can hold a button to speed it up, or if the credit scenes half the damn game.
It's going to be a game of Where's Waldo? Where's Greg? No, but really awesome. But just to interrupt you now, this is a piece of news that might actually make you a bit happy. Is reaching the 2 million tier, they've now increased 2 other tiers. And this will actually rectify your problem, because the first tier at 2,250,000 is there's going to be a retro level in the game. If they make it to $2.5 million, they're going to make an entire classic 8-bit mode. No saving points, no grinding. It's a platforming game.
That actually does sound appealing. However, I mean, I really don't have the financial wherewithal to be able to be like, hey, money this way. I unfortunately I can't, but
yeah.
That's cool. That makes me happy. Because I don't know, that it's something like I love 1, I love 2. Yeah, I know it's a little weird, but I love 2, and I love 3, Rondo of Blood. Those 4 games. I never played Super Castlevania, so I don't really have anything for it, and I've just never really been interested in Symphony of the Night. I seriously play that for about 5 hours, and then I get bored. I get bored for whatever reason, and I just kind of peter out, and I'm like, yeah, whatever.
It's really interesting because that was a religious experience for me. Because I think at that stage, my brother and I were so wrapped in this whole newfangled 3D games, playing some of the 3D games on the Saturn and some of the PS1. So it was really odd to get another 2D game, but we thought it was just such a magical and beautiful looking 2D game. And the fact that the Castlevania game became an action RPG kind of blew our minds, because at that point, we never experienced a series that changed its genre. It stayed that set genre. It's always a platform. It's always an RPG. So it was kind of a curveball to say, holy crap, there's a platform game that became an action RPG. It was kind of a new experience for us. And I think I've told the story before, how I actually went away the first time with Symphony of the Night being upset because I didn't get the good ending, because I didn't know about the whole holy glasses thing. So kind of a bit of a spoiler here, but if you want to get like the good ending and extend the game by another 50%, when you get to fight Richter, you need the holy glasses, and when you get the holy glasses, you can see the spirit that is controlling Richter, and you kill the spirit, you save Richter, and then you've got another 50% of the game to play. When I first played it, I didn't know that. And
so you thought you were done.
I thought I was done. And I was like, and then my friend told me, oh, no, there's half game. It's like, you're kidding me. Played the second half of the game, and I thought the boss battles was amazing. And it's like, went from being one of the most disappointing experiences to being one of the best games I've ever played. And I absolutely love Symphony of the Night. I still constantly play it from day to day because I've got it on my PSP of the Dracula X Chronicles collection. But very quickly, I just want to say, because you love the platforming games, have you ever played Bloodlines on the Mega Drive?
I have not.
I highly suggest it. It's fantastic. That's how I got into the series originally. I think I went on one of my other podcasts and Retro Domination. I said, yeah, it's easily top 10 favorite Mega Drive games. It's beautiful. It's also really hard as well. So
that's what I have heard. I've heard it's a fairly difficult one. I mean, a lot of the platformer ones seem kind of hard, and like I don't know what it is. There's some sort of like disconnect for me when it comes to these, or like the second wave of Castlevania games. I liked 2, which is kind of what they kind of turned into for a while, but I think it's just because I have a very cool, close, this me as a kid by myself kind of playing. I had nobody else to talk to about it, and yeah, I did beat it without fucking stupid game books things because there was nothing else for me to do. But it's one of those things that I just really enjoyed playing. But just that style of game doesn't. Maybe it's because I'm so used to 1 and 3, particularly. I've kind of grown to love Rondo of Blood, but 1 and 3 is just kind of, to me, this is what Castlevania is. This is the epitome of Castlevania. And so seeing Symphony of Night, was it Circle of the Moon?
Yeah, those, yeah.
Okay. So, or Portrait of Ruin, and those sorts of games. I get a bit of a disconnect. I mean, I love Super Metroid. Super Metroid is my shit. I mean, just love playing that game. But for whatever reason, it doesn't. I mean, I know that sounds kind of hypocritical because I'm like they're very similar games, but it's just I guess it's the setting or something. A lot of the music doesn't really jive with me either. I love Wandering Ghosts. I think it's a really kick-ass song, but overall I'm kind of disappointed in a lot of the music in Symphony of the Night.
That's interesting because it's like one of those soundtracks that I love outright. There is no like one track that's like, oh, that's bad. I actually love nearly all the pieces of music in that soundtrack. But I think the reason why I love the Metroidvania games is I'm actually a big fan of exploration in a medium-sized sort of sandbox environment. Like, the reason why I was so specific is because of games like Elder Scrolls that, yes, you can explore in those games, but just the scope is just too daunting. Whereas in a Metroidvania game, it's just right. And I'm one of those guys that loves backtracking and exploring in games. And, because I grew up playing games like Wonder Boy 3 and East 3, Wonders of East, and I love going back and forth. And Castlevania was one of those series for me. It kind of rewarded my curiosity, like, will this wall break and give me an interesting item or ability? yes, it will. And more than anything, because one of the few games or one of the few action RPGs that dealt in rare drops, like there'd be enemies that would have two sets of items. One would be like an ultra rare drop, and I'm kind of a sucker for that sort of thing. That's one of my favorite forms of grinding. Mind you, just a little tip to anyone playing Symphony of the Night, even though this will make the game on extremely easy mode, there is an enemy that drops this sword that breaks the game. What's really cool is I admire how different like the attack animations were the swords. There is a sword that's so quick it swipes 3 times by one button, and it's got like insane range. So you go up to all these bosses and mash that button, and it would just be like a crazy infinite combo. And it would just break the game, but it felt so satisfying and made Alucard such a badass. So
I think that kind of comes to why I don't really like it so much, is because of the rare drop aspect, and also for some reason I just don't like it with swords. I just love the whole whip thing. I just kind of, I don't know. I'm just glutton for punishment, I guess, because it's not a patience thing. I'm fucking playing through Dragon Quest VII for the second time trying to beat that damn game. 90 hours in. I'm not impatient. I'm just, it just doesn't work for me.
Fair enough. And you know how much I love these games, so it's kind of a mutual understanding, even different difference of opinion.
Different strokes for different folks.
Yeah, but I'm really happy for Igarashi-san and his team that it was an astounding success, and one of my favorite series is going to have another spiritual sequel. And now it's kind of put the notion in everyone's minds that if we want to see our favorite series continue, there have to be spiritual sequels now.
Which, I mean, that's not a bad thing if you like the type of game that it is. And even if it doesn't continue the story, if it has the same, I guess, essence of it, that's at least something, because you can kind of build off of that and be like, okay, cool, So. And
the other reason why I think it's effective, because the length of time is decent. Like, if like the last game's like, oh, well, man, I want another game, but that sort of game of that series was like a year before, that'd be too soon. But for most of these games, like, there hasn't been a Metroidvania game for Igarashi since Order of Ecclesia, which was 2008. So 7 years. There's a lengthy time. People who are big fans of Banjo and Kazooie, that's been a long time for them. This ukulele. So I'm not even going to go. I'm not like the biggest Mega Man fan, so I'm not going to go into when was the last time, because I think there was like Mega Man 11. So I don't think that's been too far away from...
Well, I think it's more of just people were really, for lack of a better word, hurt about Capcom shutting down Mega Man Legends 3, at least the fans of the Legend series. And so when they seen all this kind of fallout with Inafune and Capcom, they're like, all right, fine. He's leaving. Our money's going with him. Sorry, Capcom. Yeah.
I would probably give my number 9 a try when it comes out in September, but and the other big one for me that I'm trying to continually remind people of is Monster Boy. Oh my god, that's a day one purchase for me. That's the spiritual successor to the Wonder Boy series, so really looking forward to that. Even though it has a weird subtitle, like the Wizard of Booze. I'm like, aww.
That is a weird title.
But yes, really, really excited for Bloodstained. I'm really looking forward to seeing how far. And just before we end it, I just reckon their campaigning for this is fantastic. If you see on their page, they will unlock certain rewards for people if they reach over a certain goal with certain social media outlets. Like, if you get so many people on Twitter, you get so many subscribers on YouTube, they'll unlock more stuff for people, and they'll unlock actually extra rewards for backers. Like, just a simple one. I think the first one that they unlocked is like, if this tier is unlocked, everyone gets a free wallpaper who backs. Which, it's kind of simple, but it's kind of a nice incentive. And it looks like that they're encouraging, like, artists to make art. And if they get a certain piece of artwork, they're going to unlock this. It's so nice. They're relying on people's enthusiasm and passion to drive this campaign. Quite clever.
I would say that's a good, smart way to do it there. So, But are you passing the torch back to me there?
Yes, patching
Okay.
the candle.
The candle. All right. Let's see here. One of the things that came up this week, and NES Championships coming back
Yep, that was one of mine.
after. Sorry, I stole it.
No, I know. I potentially knew this was one of the ones you were going to talk about, so I did it.
But the hell? I mean, did you watch that video?
I did.
Video with
I know.
I died on the inside because I don't like Reggie, and it was such a corny thing. It was so bad. It was just so dumb.
I have to admit, I kind of bought into it. I thought it was fun. And it's like,
Well, I mean, I can understand being cheeky and kind of, being a goofy kind of thing, but I guess it's because it's in that 80s vibe. It totally had an 80s vibe to me.
yeah.
I could have done without that. I mean, it
Oh.
didn't have the montage, but, it's just, I don't know, the song was, it's everything that I hate about the 80s, and I'm not a big 80s person, so I'm just kind of like, ugh, and I don't like Reggie. Yeah, I don't like Reggie very much. I don't hate him, but I'm just kind of like, whatever, dude. So, I'm more excited that there's a championship thing.
Yeah,
I have no idea what it's about. It's going to be at Best Buy. Get hyped.
This is the thing I want to. Are they going to have like a branch at E3 like they did with Smash Brothers? I think they might, because they have all those championships in Best Buy, but if they have it like in the theater there and they live stream it like they did the Smash tournament last year, because I actually watched that Smash tournament in its entirety and it was actually fun.
Yeah.
The buzz in the air was fantastic. It was the most positive gaming experience I've encountered in a long while. So I said, Nintendo, you've got lightning in a bottle. Try and... I assumed they were going to do just another Smash tournament. No, they're greatly expanding it. So the question I asked you, good sir, what games do you think they're going to have? Do you reckon they're going to go retro, or they're going to draw off their Wii U library?
With this sort of thing, I was kind of debating on whether it was going to be some sort of, because the last one, what was it? It was Mario Rad Racer 2? Or wasn't it like Rad Racer or something like that?
It was one of them.
Tetris? Yeah. It was like a combination of those three, and you try to get the highest amount of points and beating it and, within a time limit and stuff. Like, I'd love to see it be some sort of combination of retro. What is that? Isn't it like the NES remix?
Yeah.
Isn't that... I don't know much about this. What the hell is this stuff? The NES remix stuff.
I only know a little bit because I haven't got it yet, but basically you can play different levels of certain games with a certain prerequisite, and they kind of mix and match different characters. So like there'll be Link in a Mario game and Mario in a Zelda game. That's what I've seen, and it's like little mini challenges that you have to do. And I can actually understand that would be a candidate. That would actually be a game that would be perfect for the Nintendo Championships. But I think you'd be in agreement here. You want a challenging experience that tests the mettle of champions. Throw in a fucking Donkey Kong Country game. Holy, like the Returns of Tropical Freeze. Like, jeez. Oh man.
I was gonna say, especially like something like Tropical Freeze, because I've heard that's pretty dastardly difficult there.
Yeah.
I have Returns, and I love Returns. I still need to beat it. I kind of stopped. It wasn't like I was getting my ass kicked or anything. I just kind of stopped. But I was loving what I did play of it. But I don't know. That would be a good new one, but I don't know.
And the natural extension, the most competitive game, of course, is Smash again. But it probably won't be the same sort of build up as it was for the Smash tournament next year. But it'll probably be included in the spectrum.
I would almost think that it'd be kind of a cool thing for them to do something with that, because that Splatoon game comes out.
That too.
Almost have like an 8-bit version of it where you just pixels everywhere. but I mean, yeah, I don't know. What do you bet yourself? What are you thinking? Is there any?
Well, you actually made a good point then, because I totally forgot. It's like, oh yeah, they're just about to release Splatoon, and that's probably one of the most competitive games that they've released in the last couple of years. So that could also be there. So interesting. Like, I'm all for the Best Buy sort of structures, but I hope it's not just Best Buy. I hope they really do a live stream at E3 again, so it gives us an event. And last year, one of the coolest thing is in the Smash Brothers tournament, they gave everyone who basically was in the audience like these fans, and they were given a character that they were rooting for. So because every one of the contestants could only have one character, and if that character was chosen, everyone else had to choose a different character. So you had so many fans there, like, who should win, Mario? And I was just like watching it like a normal person. Whenever the guy playing Marth, I was like, fucking Marth! I was in. My Fire Emblem pride gets the better of me so many times.
I did there was a tournament there at the college that I went to years ago, and I was playing in that in the final round kind of thing, and you're allowed to name your characters and stuff, and I named mine because I think you only had allowed 4 slots or something, and I put Make Nai, which is like the negative of lose, so like not lose, and so I'm playing, and a really good friend of mine. He's a very outgoing, very boisterous kind of guy, and we're playing. It's getting pretty serious, and stocks are going down low and everything. And Rob, he starts chanting "Makenai, Makenai," and he gets like the whole room to start chanting it. And so you have this whole room of just dorks chanting Makenai. And it's like one of the most awesomest kind of things when I was playing Melee there back in the day. So I'd imagine for something like that, even if they're like not invested as like a friend or anything for this person, they're just rooting, that'd probably still be a pretty cool thing.
It was, and it was such a great moment where all Nintendo fans of different series can come together, and it was probably one of the most positive things ever. Man, as much as we give Awakening shit, and that's kind of a cue for our listeners to go back and listening to the first episode of us discuss, in quotation marks, about Awakening. But it's really nice to see our series get a lot more coverage. But we're going to also talk about some more Fire Emblem news in a little bit. But actually, at the same time, I'm really happy that the series hasn't died yet. It kind of has died for a lot of people. But
Right.
I'm still glad it's around, that it has a chance. So and the fact that there's Fire Emblem amiibos, even though they're really freaking difficult to procure. Screw you, Nintendo. Seriously. But yeah, really happy for the Nintendo World Championships. I reckon it'll be a mixed match of everything. I reckon they will have NES Remix, then they'll probably have Smash, and probably Splatoon. Oh, and one more. We're forgetting the most competitive Nintendo game ever, and it's on the Wii U. And it's Mario.
Obviously King's Night.
King's Night. It's got all Mario Kart. That's 110% going to be a championship game. And it's going to be on 200cc.
Well, yeah, but that's the thing you got to remember, that championship stuff. It was just like real quick cut-ups of 3. I want to say it was just those 3 games. So I must have this feeling that that NES remix would be a very good candidate for it, or at least something akin to that. But I mean, who the hell knows?
Unless Nintendo has had like NES or Nintendo Remix free, like in a secret vault, and then just brings it out for the championship. That's the other thing I'm thinking of. But yeah, pretty cool. I'm looking forward to seeing what kind of crowd it brings, whether it be young, old, or a mixture of the two. So yeah.
So that should. Real quick on this one, I wanted to bring this up. I don't pay attention to League of Legends. I have a few friends that are really not like super heavy into it, that they just do nothing but talk about it, but they do like to play it on a regular basis. But there, I guess, was a pro League of Legends player who just quit, and after quitting decided to release this kind of this file saying everything and spewing a whole bunch of fire and deciding to burn a whole bunch of bridges down in the process. It's like, this would be akin to somebody, playing for a team or working for a company and then leaving and then just airing out all sorts of dirty laundry or just spewing vitriol and being like, hey, fuckers, kind of thing.
It's just like, it's a video game. Like, it to those people, it's become so much more. And the fact that he feels like he's quitting his job. And I'm just like, well, the question is, did he get paid for playing League of Legends?
Yeah, there's pro League of Legends players, especially the I'd imagine they'd get some money there. I mean, this is something that I'm not gonna say that it's not a sport. To me though, it's just kind of like this is a whole nother level or a whole different level of gaming that I am just not even going to attempt to cross that field.
What do you call these games? What do you call these games? MOBAs. I have no interest in watching MOBA players. I am a big fighting game community fan. Like, I do like watching like the pro players play each other because it's just fantastic. It's kind of like the new age version of boxing, and it's not when it comes to boxing, it's not about seeing the punches thrown. It's like seeing the mind game between the two boxers. And that's what I like about the fighting games. It's just like, what is he going to do? Oh my God. And like, I always joke that the first sort of few seconds of like these fighting games, it's kind of like watching a dance recital because you're just seeing two people go back and forth, like walk back and forth, waiting to see who throws the first punch. And I kind of like that. And just like, what is he going to begin with? And it's just a combination of the two and seeing the combo theory and people adapt to different strategies. I just like fighting games in general. Not all fighting games, mind you. But most fighting games, I really do get a kick out of watching a lot of people, and that sort of has gone me back into playing a lot of fighting games the last couple of years, and been having a blast. It's kind of weird not having my brother here to play because he was back in the day in the 90s. We'd always play fighting games together. Would be Mortal Kombat or Soul Blade, So I'll have to probably go online soon with my YouTube friends and play a couple of matches. That'd be pretty cool.
There you go. Yeah, I just kind of thought this was an interesting thing that he quits doing. Okay, you quit playing League of Legends, but then to go on full blast and just start flaming middle fingering people.
Yeah. But the sad thing is, it's kind of notorious with League of Legends. That's the other thing. Not just because it's a MOBA, it's just because I've heard of how insane the vitriol is in that community. And I'm like, why would I even want to be around these people? Yeah, just ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous.
The horror stories.
Oh, man.
Back to you there, good sir.
Actually, I forgot to mention this with the Bloodstained one, so I'll mention this quickly, even though it's something kind of different. And it kind of harkens back to our Power On podcast, which is awesome. In the stream, because in the first night of the Kickstarter campaign, Koji Igarashi was an American. He was playing some of the indie games that was made by different studios, and he was playing Shovel Knight, which I'm actually playing Shovel Knight at the moment as well. I'm having a lot of fun with it. And while he was talking to the creator of the game at Yak Club Games, I think it is, and they mentioned Karnov of all people. They bring up Karnov, and this is the brilliant thing. Koji Igarashi, in Japanese, he basically said, "You'll never see another Karnov game again." And people are like, "What? Why?" And I didn't know this, but apparently, you probably know this better than I do. Apparently, his power comes from the fact that he's radioactive. Like,
yeah.
That apparently is a soft point for developers in Japan. Like, no, we don't want to touch Karnov because it's a terrible...
Right.
And I was like, you're serious? I'm like, I thought that was interesting. the whole Chernobyl thing and everything. It's a soft spot, and like no one wants to touch that. Wow, that was interesting. I just like
Well, I mean, it doesn't help that they had that whole spiel there in Sendai. Oh, not Sendai. Just the no, Fukushima. There we go. With the nuclear plant and whatnot.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's one thing, but the whole just the whole thing of Karnov being brought up. There was something else about him also being racist, but Japanese people don't mind being racist at time to time, since I'm totally being tongue in cheek with that comment, but that's supposed to be part of the humor, people.
the same thing. It's just, like a reason for that is enough for a series to stop dead in its tracks. Like I can understand kind of being respectful and all that. It's just a crazy freaking character from a company that no longer around. So I just thought it was interesting because I'd never heard really anything kind of except from you and Sushi. Yeah, it's like,
right.
So it's just interesting that this once again brought back into the limelight. It's like, man, this series must be more popular than I think it is. So
no, it's not. It's really not.
So it just must be this cult thing around retro gamers, honestly. Just oh man. But anyway, here's kind of one of the sad pieces of news. But it's kind of things been going around about the president of Image Epoch, about his disappearance. He still disappeared, sadly, but everyone's like, why did he disappear? And recently it came clear why he did. The company declared bankruptcy. They are in a shit ton of debt through 45 different creditors, racked up a debt of 1.1 billion yen. So, yeah.
I mean, I know that's only like that's not nearly as much as in dollars, but oh my god.
Yeah.
Oh, and he just skedaddled with the money then?
I don't know what he did. I don't know if he skedaddled the money, but yeah, his Twitter's gone. He's nowhere to be found.
Oh my god. That's kind of frightening.
It is. It's pretty frightening. And this is really hard because of everything saying this, but one of the games made from Image Epoch is probably one of my 5th least favorite RPGs of all time, which is Time Eternity. But I mean, I can't laugh about that anymore because of what's happened, but I don't
that's different though. Yeah. The game you can kind of bash on. The situation is not. Yeah. I mean, I guess it is kind of a result because it did so poorly. But besides the point, you can totally bash the game and not feel guilty that this guy is kind of vanished. I mean, you can still feel bad for it. It's not like you have to.
Yeah, the problem is I think his heart was in the right place, but obviously he didn't do his math right, or who knows if he embezzled money, who knows what happened, but he had some interesting ideas for some games, but a lot of these games, he tried to reinvent the wheel a little bit, and it didn't sort of reinvigorate. In some cases, it actually took away from the RPG experience. Like, he actually dealt with a lot of great companies, like, there's a lot of Image Epoch games I want to play, like Seventh Dragon, where he worked with one of the old creators of Phantasy Star to make that game, and some of the creators of Etrian Odyssey, so I've always wanted to play that. One of the games I do own from Image Epoch is Last Ranker, where Image Epoch teamed up with Capcom and the old Breath of Fire team to make an RPG for the PS3. One of the best looking games on the PSP, by the way. Beautiful looking game. Yoko Shinamura also did the soundtrack as well. So, good pedigree.
That's always I was going to say that's always a good thing when she's composing music for you.
So that's a good pedigree. And of course, one of the big ones everyone's played in America is Arc Rise Fantasia, which I think is a lot of people praise it, and they also hark on it for a lot of things. What's the other one? The big one for Fate fans is they did the Fate Extra games, and that's also a very sticking point. A lot of people is that it's the combat system is really basic boils down to a rock paper scissors sort of battle system. Didn't set well for a lot of people, even though once again one of the most beautiful looking games on the PSP. Black Rock Shooter, the game, which was very surprising because I thought I was going to hate it, but I actually ended up really loving it, even though the battle system is actually very bare bones. And I really enjoyed it. Once again, one of the most beautiful looking games on the PSP. Seeing a trend here. and that's because they actually had some high-end production values for the PSP games. And I think as much as they invested a lot into them, I don't know if they turned much of a profit. Like one of the last ones I
Well,
got,
obviously not, unless he embezzled 120 million.
yeah, and the reports are saying that most of the games didn't make much of a splash, sadly. One of the last games I played from Final Promise Story, which I played a couple of hours. Amazing soundtrack, looks amazing. I like the premise of the game for once, and the fact that it's an Image Epoch game, because I would say like the premise of their games, like I would say Fate, Extra, and Final Promise Stories has the best stories. Black Rock Shooter is questionable, but it's interesting. Time Eternity is just outright one of the worst pieces of gaming writing I've ever encountered in my life. Just so many dislikable characters that I've ever encountered. So, and I can't. I don't know what they've made afterwards, but I think after Time Eternity, it's just like, yeah. I'll play your old backlog, but yeah. But at the end of the day, it's really sad that they did try their best, and they tried to like bring back classic RPGs for everyone, or just like that PS2 sort of era RPGs, and sadly, it did not pan out for them. So, for anyone who's like an employee at Image Epoch, I hope you can find work, and I don't know. I just wish you the best.
Yeah, I mean, it is unfortunate in that regard that they tried to kind of bring back an older style, but for whatever reason, it just wasn't either the time for it, or just with that Time in Eternity, just really bad writing, or just something that really didn't jive with people. I mean, there's a whole slew of different reasons why it didn't work for him. I just hope that the dude that vanished didn't vanish because of somebody else, and that he vanished because he laundered some money. Because I mean, at least with laundering money, person could be caught. If he's vanished because he was in debt and people just decided he was needed to go, that's would be a very sad thing.
Yeah. Well, who knows what's happening? They'll like the court date for liquidating the assets and all that will be happening soonish, I think. So see what happens. But yeah, another gaming company bites the dust for various reasons. Always sad, especially when they specialize in RPGs. So. But how many more pieces of news do you have?
I've got a couple. Are you finished with yours?
Oh no, I've got a couple as well. So.
Oh, okay. Well, do you want to wrap yours up and then I'll wrap mine up, or?
I've got 1, 2, 3.
I've got 3, 2.
Rock, paper, scissors.
Through the what? No, there's not even a video going here.
We can.
We tried that last time, but no, that's terrible. I elect myself to run through mine because I am a bum. I'm a bum.
Bum. A buttocks.
I'm a bum. A buttocks. All right. So, thing that I had seen here. This is a World of Warcraft. Wow, I never played it. Had plenty of roommates who played a lot of it. I don't. This is one of those. It's just another one of the. The PC stuff. I've never had a decent enough PC to play a lot of games, so I've just never really kept in tune with it. But there was 100,000 accounts that got banned for like 6 months or longer because there were a bunch of botters, frippin' botters.
Nice.
I mean, well, this is something that I think hasn't a lot of some subscriptions for WoW have gone down a lot. I mean, from its heyday, I'd imagine it's gone down a whole ton. But to have a tenth of a million, 100,000 of them, just be a bunch of botters that just they're just sitting there doing things autoed. I mean, there's certain things that you can do auto that's alright, like just selling a whole bunch of crap. That's not such a bad thing, but when you're getting into a little bit more of the details of stuff, and you're just kind of like, yes, go farm all this stuff for me. Bot machine of mine. But I don't know. Have you really? I think you played 14 and 11 for Final Fantasy. Did you play any other online stuff or?
Well, aside from something like a bit of Ragnarok Online and Warhammer Online, and I only played like a tiny bit of EverQuest, but not too much to classify it as a decent sort of playthrough. But yeah, Final Fantasy 14 was probably my most played online game. And the reason I quit is because I don't like waiting 45 minutes to get into a dungeon. That's a prerequisite for continuing the game.
But why not?
That's just the no-no, man. That just takes it out of the experience. It's like, oh, we're going to go in there and we're going to save the world, but we've got to wait 45 minutes for everyone else. I'm just like, okay, well, I would assume that the world would be screwed in that time. No.
Botching everything up,
No,
dudes.
it's just that's one of the hindrances of the online structure when you have to wait for stuff with like that, like insane wait time. Like if it's 20 minutes, I could probably handle that. But it's 45. That's ridiculous. That's just asinine. But to reiterate the whole WoW thing, I'm gonna just say this now. I apologize to all WoW players. I think the game is boring. Like, I have a lot of friends who played WoW, and I've tried watching it, and I actually fall asleep. Like, I really do. I just nod off. I don't know what it is, and I usually like watching RPGs of all kinds. One of the only few that I just think it's boring. It just really is, and I cannot. And as someone who loved Warcraft 2, I just can't get into essentially the World of Warcraft. It's just...
The bane of Greg's RPG existence.
It's something I don't hate either. It's not like, oh, this is a bad game. It's just a boring game. Yeah.
So, let's see. This other one I have here is for a Kickstarter that I had seen. And this Kickstarter was asking for £30,000.
Okay, 30.
And yeah, because they're based in Europe.
Yep.
Or England. But they're based there, and they reached their goal with like an hour or so left because somebody swooped in and pledged 7,000 to them.
Wow, that's awesome.
The kicker is that's gonna just take that awesome and turn it upside down is that this person was deemed fake by Kickstarter. And so they did not reach their goal.
Oh, what a prick! Wow, that is like the biggest kick in the balls,
Well, that's some dreams being tampered with, and that is unfortunate. I mean, say what you want about Kickstarter, where you agree or disagree with the whole practice of crowdfunding that way and stuff for games. But for somebody who's trying to make a game, or this is their dream for it, and this might be the only way for them to kind of do it, to have somebody be like, "Here's $7,000." Oh, but I'm fake.
The question remains though: what was this for?
What was what for? Just the Kickstarter itself?
Yeah, what was the game in question?
It was it's called like Dimension Drive or something like that. Bring up a report real quick. I'll send it to you too, so you can take a look. See here. Click. There you go.
Alrighty.
Yeah. So by Two Awesome Studio. Not a very good name.
Dimension Drive.
So it's sci-fi adventure, and it's kind of got like the futuristic vibe going for it and everything. It doesn't look horrid. It just doesn't. I mean, it's like a shooter, like a bullet hell kind of. I wouldn't say bullet hell because, I mean, it could actually be pretty lenient in that regard. But it doesn't look terrible. But for somebody to be like, "Oh, yep, here's your money." Oh,
I'm really surprised because I thought the shooting community was huge, but. Yeah, I mean, there must be plenty of shooters that get crowdsourced these days, but man, still, that's a big kick in the teeth, just to like give someone's hope and then just immediately take it away. It would be very discouraging to say the least. And I,
Well, especially for the way that it was done when you're at like just, an hour away from, you kind of are like, okay, you're kind of cosigned to just be like, all right, whatever, we didn't get it, nice try, guys. Then all of a sudden somebody drops a ton and gets you there. You're like, oh, it's like getting like a Christmas present and then being told that the Christmas present was stolen, and then they had to take it back to the store or whatever. And you're just like, thanks, Uncle Rick, because you've totally fucked Christmas. That's the analogy I have for you today.
nah, that's awful. That really is. I hope it doesn't discourage them too much. Like they can come back in a couple of months, and that's what I like about Kickstarter is like, if you fail, you're not done. You can launch another campaign in the future. And I really hope that if they keep working on it a little bit, because I actually recently found out there was this arena battle game that someone released, and the first version, no offense, kind of looked like ass. It looked really bad. But in the upside of that, they relaunched it, and I was like, oh my goodness, wow, that was a big improvement. Like a gigantic improvement in graphics and artwork. So sometimes failing at a Kickstarter is what the project needs for it to be better, you know?
Well, I think that's probably a case for a lot of people, is that they need to fail to be like, okay, my idea isn't amazing, or it might be a really good idea, but the implementation of the idea isn't good. Let's go back to the drawing board and make it better. Nothing wrong with that. Failing is a wonderful thing. because if you're willing to accept the failure, you can build upon it. Instead of just, if you get passed through all the time and you're like, yeah, so I got it, you might kind of get ego. Even Goku loses to Master Roshi. I mean, just keep that in mind. I've been watching way too much Dragon Ball lately, so that had to come out. So I have one last thing, unless you wanted to add something else to that. Nope. Okay. All right. Last one here is the soul crushing, nearly $2 million in profits for the Candy Crush maker.
Yeah.
And that's just for a single quarter, for the first quarter of this fiscal year. This makes me want to die on the inside.
I'm of two minds about it. It's like, as someone who wanted just to make cell phone games as a job and just play console games as a hobby, I'm happy, but at the same time, the Candy Crush makers are a bit of, well, to someone who basically wanted to own the word saga, that is so,
Right.
Oh man, what a pretentious piece of, oh man, it's terrible to own a word that's in the fucking dictionary. No, seriously, no. I mean, I think Square Enix would have something to say to you if they wanted to bring out another Saga game, It's like, no, screw you. Even though they would actually have an ace and hold the fact that their G is in capital. So it's Saga.
Yeah, but I mean, that's part of the issue with a lot of these kind of things when it comes to titles for things and copyrights and whatnot, is that you just copyright a whole bunch of different ideas, a whole different bunch of names, and then they just kind of sit on it. And then when somebody tweaks that title or something, it's like, hey, copyright, you can't do that. I mean, more so for ideas than titles, but I mean, it's still kind of there to have the audacity of being like, yep, we're going to try to nail down the word fucking saga for a... I mean, it just doesn't correlate with the Candy Crush. It's a Candy Crush Saga. It's a 4 fucking letter word that has nothing to do with Candy Crush. I'm confused.
And right there, that's perfect. That you can set it better.
I mean, it's just such an absurd thing. I remember, I don't know if it was you had said something, or Sushi had said something, or if I just randomly saw it and just dropped a few IQ points, but no, just No, and the like, I don't have an issue with people getting their bills, getting their money, making bank. I don't have an issue with that. I have an issue in making bank off of something so rudimentally. I can't even speak. I'm so flustered. But no. And so to see something like this, it just really saddens me, especially when you see other people having to resort to Kickstarter. And I'm not saying Kickstarter is a bad thing by all means or anything, but to see them to have to do this just to like keep a style of game alive, they have to go to Kickstarter and kind of raise the banners, blow the war trumpets, and sally forth kind of thing here. He just Candy Crush just prints money. It's just like
Yeah, it's definitely for that new age mobile casual market that essentially I want to tap into for for employment, but yeah, like I said, I'm on two minds about it, but at the same time, it's just like, yeah, I can understand why you're a bit miffed. So,
well, nah, it's not like I said. I'm not hating that they're making the money. To me, it's just so befuddling how something like that can make so much money. It's just like, that's what I guess my issue.
But yeah, I'm going to rapid fire mine, and I want to include one that I didn't write down because I think it's actually quite important. That we just talk about it briefly because it's just chaos, or I should say, add to what we've already speaked about before. But before then, very quickly, Project X Zone 2, which I like to call the crossover hot part of the last 20, 30 years of gaming, has added Phoenix Wright and Maya Fey from the Ace Attorney series, which I'm a big fan of, which is awesome. Cool. The biggest surprise from Sega's end, though, which really just shocked me and just made my mouth drop, Axel Strong from Streets of Rage is going to be a unit. Yes.
What? Lots of
Grand Upper! That's going to be like the EX move. Grand Upper! Which I have annoyed my parents for ages with that. And then just like, because I'm a beast when it comes to Streets of Rage 2. It's one of my favorite beat 'em ups of all time, if not probably my favorite beat 'em up. Really awesome to see Axel, but the thing about Project Cross Zone is some of these units actually consist of more than one person. So if they just announce Axel now, and then later on they'll actually include Blaze, that'd make me so happy. Axel and Blaze, that just
Did you beat that?
I actually haven't been the first one yet. As much as I like the notion of all these characters that I like coming together, there's a few flaws of the game that kind of makes it unplayable in a way. Like there's like the basic combat and strategy RPG nature of it, awesome. It has a problem with healing. It has a mass problem with healing. You cannot use your healing items like early in the beginning of the game, or you essentially commit suicide for later in the game.
I've heard that there's a game ground level or like a game ground nod to it, and for whatever reason I'm stupid in love with that game, and I didn't know if you had gotten to that point.
I'll let you know, because I've played a couple of them, because there's a lot of series in that game I'm big fond of, like, there's Art from Ghouls and Ghosts in there, which is pretty awesome. Sacrifice Tyson's also a series I want to kind of invest more into, but I've given lip service to the series throughout the years, where it's like watching the anime or reading up a bunch of shit on it. So it was really cool to play the characters from that. And just there's so many characters. I always joke to a lot of people, it's like, it's awesome to have these characters, but really, if they really want to nail the cherry on the cake for me and Sega, have Alice and Meow from Phantasy Star in there as a unit. Or just have the entire Phantasy Star party with Odin and Noah included, or Lutz if you're a Japanese player. That to me would just be like the epitome of just epic. I would, that'd be amazing. But the fact Axel got in, just the sky's the limit. Who knows who else they're going to add in? So that's really cool. Okay, next up, my favorite game on the PS2 is getting ported to the 3DS.
Oh, yes, I saw this.
Dragon Quest VIII. And I'm like, well, I know I was kind of puzzled with the iOS version, and it's actually kind of a weird-looking version, but it's actually probably one of the best-looking games on smartphone. I'm really cool that it's on a dedicated handheld, and the fact this is going to be the first voiced version for the Japanese audience, because in America and Europe, for anyone that didn't know, our version of Dragon Quest VIII for the PS2 was handled with a lot more TLC. Like, we had voices and we had the symphonic soundtrack, opposed to.
Is that going to be in this 3DS
I
one?
should. I think it might be. Who knows? Because it's just a normal 3DS cart, and the fact that they're going to have full voices for all the cutscenes is pretty impressive. And I'm thinking, oh, what's the graphical quality going to be like? Because for all of you that don't know, people think that the 3DS can replicate PS2 graphics. It kind of can, but it comes at the cost at textures. The textures on the 3DS versions are a lot less developed, and like playing Tales of the Abyss is a big, big sort of example of that. Also, when you play like a game like on the new 3DS, when you play a game like Xenoblade, I've heard a lot of people are enjoying Xenoblade, but the textures are like mountains below what it is on the Wii. So, I don't.
So this one, will it be playable on the old 3DS, or do you have to have a new
They've
3DS?
only classified it as 3DS, so I assume it's just normal 3DS. I've only seen.
I was about to say, what is it classified as for the new one? Will it say like new?
Yeah, it'll
3DS
say
or something?
new 3DS. So.
Nonsense.
I was trying to see if what would be the graphical differences, and I've seen just like haven't seen any hard screenshots yet, but I saw a magazine scan, I think from Famitsu, and it kind of looks like the PS2 game from what I've seen. So having that portable and a dedicated sort of handheld, yeah, I'm all for that. But the thing that blows my mind, and being a huge Dragon Quest fan, is that the 3DS now has, with this, it's going to have 7 Dragon Quest games, which is crazy.
Yeah.
And none of them are localized in English, which is just like, oh, it hits you.
It is rather unfortunate for anybody who's a Dragon Quest fan that cannot play the games in Japanese, or at least just be able to get the damn games and not have to worry about importing or something like that. I mean, like I mentioned earlier, I'm playing through Dragon Quest VII because I'm trying to beat it for the first time, and I'm loving it to pieces. And I've never played 8. I've never had the opportunity. Well, I take it back. I've had the opportunity in the sense that there was a version of the game in the apartment. I just never had the chance to play it, kind of thing. But seeing this really gets me excited because I can actually play this.
Yeah, I hope I haven't overhyped the game for you, because I'm like saying, no, it's the best game on the PS2. It's like, I don't say it out likely. It's just, there's so many things with that game that hits all the right notes for me. And I just came away from that game like just gushing the crap out of it. So
I hope yeah, that's not the case. I will say this, having been playing 7 for the second time now, but I mean when I play the first time and playing it through the second time, I think I'm about to transfer quote unquote transfer discs, go to disc 2 kind of thing. 7 might be my favorite so far. I fucking love how 7 plays out. I mean, it's lengthy as all get out. I'm thinking, yeah, like I said, I'm like 90 hours in or so. But just the thing that I love about Dragon Quest games that doesn't get enough attention about them is that they have their own little culture about them. It's a world unto itself, and it's not only that it's a world unto itself, but the adventure is there for you to do, not just to be told, hey, asshole, follow this line, and, you know, here's a marker, find the marker, talk to this dude that's glowing and saying, hey, talk to me. Oh, okay.
There's something about, like, at least in the localized ones, where in terms of town building, it's actually one of the best series in the top of my head for town building. Like, I recently played Breath of Fire 1, and as much as that game's kind of quirky and I enjoyed it for the most part, Capcom just basically said, fuck it with the towns. And you basically have a town where like a third of the town, close to 50% of the town, will say the exact same thing. And that gives me...
You're better off just having planks of wood to sit there. And
I'm just like, well, I'm not going to invest much time in this town. And then you got a game like Dragon Quest where not only do they write some good material for the characters, they'll go out of their way. I think we've mentioned this is kind of the first discussion we ever had when we first met on YouTube. Like the little details that go into like having different accents and different sort of personalities for different town folk, and it's just so memorable. I mean, I love Dragon Quest already because it's one of the best games to search for shit in towns. Seriously, you go to every nook and cranny and you find items galore.
Greg's thieving through people's drawers and finding their dead. You son
And
of
then
a
you've
bitch.
got some great dialogue to listen to for the townsfolk. So it's just one of those series that hits all the right notes. And I'm just kind of sad at the same time because I just wanted to joke about Taylor rubbing it in. But I've played all the Dragon Quest games except for 7, and it's really hard for me. Like, I actually would have to invest in getting a step-down transformer, or getting a American PS1 to play the PS1 version, or to have to get a Japanese 3DS and get this sort of unique sort of charging bay for it to charge it so it doesn't overheat, just to play Dragon Quest 7 in Japanese. So it's just one of those games that still remains the hardest Dragon Quest game for me to procure. And I wanted 7 to get localized because that would mean that every Dragon Quest game could be obtained in English by easy means. And sadly, it hasn't come to pass yet.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate, and that's something about the games, particularly with the Zenithia trilogy. Well, I'll say 4 and 5, 6. I have my issues with 6.
I actually wanted to debate you saying you like Dragon Quest, how it's not always in a straight line. But I've always thought that it kind of is it's like that best position, because I was going to comment about 6. It's like, well, 6 could have used a little bit more of
6 could have used a lot more feelings.
Yeah.
I really think that Hody, he loves 5. From what I've heard, was still his favorite. And there's something about 5 that, even though I kind of have toppled it from number 1 to 2 there, I think he just kind of hit a just an amazing stroke with that one, and then things went off the rails a little bit with 6, and they're just kind of like, just whatever, we don't give her. Just go through the dreamland and do shit. Fight fucking Bessie polka dot slimes. We don't care.
I would probably, the big compliment I would give to 6, it had a great premise and a great idea. It just didn't go the whole mile that it could have. So,
and man, just 7. I mean, like 5 has something that happens in it. Won't spoil it. That's really emotional, and you are just stuck there having to watch this unfold.
The one thing I can say about the Dragon Quest games, they always have an element of a game that just stands out on the pack. Like 5, I would say, has the best plot. 4 and 8 for me has actually the best characters. Like, not only just great characters for the Dragon Quest series, but just standout characters that I'll never forget. Like, both 4 and 8. Well, 4, the Princess's Retinue is probably the only one that I would question.
Those guys are awesome.
Okay.
They're terrible party members, but I mean, they're just...
Elena's okay. Kyril's just...
Elena's amazing. She embarrasses Ragnar.
I love Ragnar, the twins, and the main hero. That's my party.
Too bad Hoymine doesn't throw down in his human form. But I don't know. Like 4, I don't mind 4. I'm just kind of surprised that one gets a lot more. I understand it. 5 never made it outside of Japan, but until the DS. But 4, there's something about 4 that's kind of boring. Like, there's a cool thing with Torneco's, selling a whole bunch of stuff. That's kind of cool. That helps kind of break up the monotony of it. And having the twins battle theme.
And having a really hard boss at the end of the channel.
Yeah.
That actually stopped me for a week, because I couldn't... I figured out that I didn't do something right. And that was one of the only times in a very long ass time that I got stuck in an RPG. And I was just like, what am I doing wrong? I'm getting owned here. But then I found out what I didn't do right, and then I was able to do it with ease. So, but yeah.
there's something about 7 where you're going into these different towns and stuff. So there's one in particular that I get like really sad about, and it's because it's done in such a way that it seems fairly basic, but it's a truth. And it's something about that truth that's just kind of makes it a like really sad sort of truth, and you're just kind of like, that is depressing to see unfold, because you're going from the past to the present, and it's such a wonderful fucking game. Play Dragon Quest 7, people. Thanks, we love you. Nearly
God, like, do you know there's still a lot of people that are holding out for 7 on 3DS? Like the whole Square Enix is they're prepping for like a big E3, and what I'm kind of really worried about is a lot of people getting their hopes up, like more so than ever, because they're so devoted to seeing the entire series available, and I love their passion. But I'm sort of taking a step back. Like, if it happens, it will be like the ginormous surprise. Because okay, Taylor on one stage or another for the podcast talks about how disappointed he was that Mega Man Legends 3 didn't get released for the 3DS. It was his reason for buying the 3DS. Dragon Quest 7 kind of remained mine, and I'm still a little bit bitter about it. So
what makes it even worse, though, is that it exists,
yeah.
and it's just the language barrier and the that whole whatever the fuck, the region lock, and so it just mocks you from a distance. It's like, I'm here, Greg. You can't have me.
Alrighty, getting into 2 more news stories. The second one, Iwata has mentioned that the NX could be potentially region free, and I hope it is, because it will basically quell some major backlash that this generation of Nintendo products has been dealt with. I will say that playing the GBA, playing the original DS, they were my first gaming devices I actually imported from America. And that sort of brings me back a lot of great memories. Like, I got my copy of the Sacred Stones, like, I would say half a year before Australia got it. So that was pretty awesome. And I got a lot of DS RPGs way before they got local releases here. So that was a great time. And when they announced that the 3DS would be region locked, that kind of really put a damper on things. The thing that's different about this, though, is I've always played region-locked Nintendo consoles, so for this to potentially be the first region-free console is actually really awesome. I think other than that, there's like the Nintendo top loader for the NES.
Well, like the Super Nintendo, there's a little plastic piece that you had to cut out, because just how the cartridge is shaped. You have the top loader, but yeah, just how the cartridge is shaped, and so you just had to cut, and then you're good to go. That's just a little bit of plastic surgery, and done and done.
But yeah, to make it actually properly region free, that's pretty awesome, because I know a lot of people, speaking to a lot of people who have been importing Xenoblade Chronicles X as of now, so that would have been nice for a lot of people if like the Wii U was region free and they could have just imported without any hassle.
Yeah.
But no, pretty cool, and you wouldn't have many people that was raging on Fatal Frame, even though they're actually getting it now. So pretty cool. Now to end off the news section with something that I have accepted full on, and it's kind of hit home at last. And I've spoken to so many people about this. Is Konami has issued a statement that they want to focus on the mobile market for their future. And I'm like, I kind of saw it coming, you know. And we discussed how many people think the future is the mobile market, but we've given off examples that it could not be, because we've seen some companies have done poorly at the mobile development game, you know. And some are doing well, so it's kind of a gamble. But basically, it's a gamble that Konami wants to take. They want to take it, and they basically full blast want to do it. And it seems they're intent on burning a lot of bridges in the console and handheld development world, sadly. So, yeah, I'm not like a lot of people I've been very passionate. A lot of fuck yous. You've ruined my childhood's been thrown around. Whereas me, honestly, I've kind of taken the stance of, yeah, I'm ready to pack it all up. I'm not going to rage. I'm just going to be accepting and just like, yeah, one's favorite company doesn't want to make my favorite games anymore. Fair enough. They want to take a new business adventure. Yeah, it's done. It's done. Metal Gear Solid 5, last hurrah.
I don't understand the whole "you ruined my childhood"
Yeah,
bit. Your childhood's there. It's locked away in your memories. It's not like Konami's gonna like rip those from your mind
yeah,
and then kind of instill shitty new memories of going outside or
yeah,
something. But I mean, I I get why some people are upset about this. For some people, games were what they had growing up. That's kind of their safety zone, or this is their solace areas, are playing these kind of games. And then to see some company that they cherish go this route, I mean, of course it's not personal because they don't know you. I mean,
yeah,
I mean, the way I kind of see it is that if you're going to treat companies like people, this person's moving to a different area. They're going to a different area, so you're going to have to hang out with somebody different. You're going to have to fill in that void created by this person leaving with new and fun things or spiritual successors. Find a friend who's very similar to that old friend who just left. Kind of thing. But I've not been one to be like, Falcom is probably the closest I've ever gotten to being like, I don't want to say psycho worshipping or anything like that, but the one that I'm just like, you guys do a good job. But then, as of recently, you guys have been really on my shit list. So I've never have felt any sort of just attachment to the companies themselves. It's been to just the games themselves. So
yeah. It's kind of like a love of a game can become too little for a person, and they want to extend it. I can understand, especially if there's a good string of games made by one company. It's like, oh, this company can do no wrong. I've been one of those people that have been burnt so many times that I've known better. The first instance is, of course, the Sega, and I grew up only playing Sega games. They're the best company in the world. And then just throughout the 2000s, they made a lot of mistakes. They made a lot of great games on their way. They still kind of make some great games as of now, but just a lot less. And now they've made the jump to only making smartphone and PC only games. So it's kind of a similar situation. It's not just like this is, oh my god, this is happening Konami. It's happening to a lot of old developers. They're going into new, different sort of paths, and you just have to accept it.
well, that and there's something about companies that there's the life of a company. The life of a company is generally 25 years. Well, it's been happening 25,
Yeah,
25th anniversaries. You're getting to that point where companies have to change or they end up
yeah,
dying. Sure, there are certain companies that can stand the test of time. However, those aren't the examples. Those are more like the I've lost it. The exception to the rule, not the rule themselves.
yeah. I mean, here's a good example. Imagine if Nintendo didn't just concentrate on Hanafuna cards. There'd, there'd be no Mario, there'd be no Zelda. And I know a lot of people are passionate, and I understand. I used to consider Konami my favorite company thanks to the PS1 era, and PS3 era was another. It was another one of the companies that kind of got gobbled up in the recent sort of era, that they didn't know what to do aside from the Metal Gear games. And as much as I'm not a huge fan of Lords of Shadows, I actually thought it was a decent action adventure game. So it's not like they had bad products, but they just didn't have that same sort of, what would be the word described, sort of output they did in the PS1 and the PS2 era, because that's their eras where they were just churning out lumps of gold. at a
Well,
great.
that and, all those rhythm games that I mean, they must have been just sitting on mountains of money and just going, well, probably not because of the rhythm games because they're putting out so many of them at a time. But fucking poppin' music, I love poppin' music. And I don't see that going anywhere. I mean, they have a bunch of other rhythm games as well, so that transition to mobile devices or, like iPads and stuff like that, that's feasible, that's easy. But I mean, it's definitely something different. That's for that's for
It's weird because the only thing I'm concerned, because I've talked to a lot of people, seen a lot of videos. Many people just bring up Contra, they bring up Metal Gear, and they bring up Castlevania. There's rarely anyone talking about Suikoden. That's my main cause for concern. I've seen.
Craig, Suikoden died a death a long time ago.
I know that's what I wanted to reiterate with. But I just talking with the Suikoden community, a lot of them are in denial. I'm just like, oh, Kojima's just trolling. I'm just like, are you serious?
What was didn't they have a pachinko thing for Suikoden? Yeah,
I think it was.
ago,
I think it was like a
wasn't there?
Suikoden 4 pachinko machine. I think, yeah.
Yeah, that was your
Yeah, I
last
mean,
hurrah.
the
It was a fucking
team.
pachinko slots and whatever the hell that
This is a
PSP
team
game
that's
was.
lost crucial members over the years. Like the original writer, who's my favorite video game writer, he's gone off and made Blue Moon Studios, and he hasn't been in the Suikoden series since Suikoden 3. Suikoden 3 was his last game, and then people who remained worked on 4, Rhapsodia, which is tactics, and then 5. I think some of them remained to make Tear Crease, and then I think they went with a new team for Centennial Tapestry. But the thing is I love that series. That's my favorite video game series. Nothing will change that. But even myself, as a hardcore fan, I have to accept the facts. This was a series that was never profitable for Konami. I think the first 2 games were profitable, but at least in Japan, they certainly weren't in the rest of the world because of the low quantity they release. But I have to accept the fact that, yeah, it is dead. And people are like, well, what about the recent games being released? That wasn't Konami's. That wasn't Konami. That was Sony. Sony backed them into a corner with a great offer, and they accepted. And I think Sony did most of the grunt work with putting the game on PSN. So,
Well, because that just kind of gives you money. I mean, that's just here's an old nostalgic game that you can't get because it's a stupid amount of money. Oh, what? It's only $5?
I'll say this now. A lot of people are sad like, oh, Konami's ending, but I actually have the situation coming up that could prove to be a glorious end to Konami for me. And it's not Metal Gear Solid 5. The worst thing Konami did to me, as a year's being a fan, is they didn't release Suikoden 3 for me. They pulled it out of the last reason for some stupid reason. And I was one of those people that was waiting on it for months and months and months. And even my local EB Games teased it was coming out soon and I'll be able to get it soon. And then I learned at EB Games that it was being discontinued and it wasn't even going to be released. And I never actually recovered from that for a while. And I actually wrote them email. I was one of those people once upon a time, guys. I was like, thanks, Konami, just ruined.
Thanks, you bunch of asses.
I did that once, but it was the only time I didn't do it. And apparently 500,000 PAL users agreed with me as well. Just oh, this is just terrible. It looked amazing, rah, rah, rah. And it's funny because that game on a lot of RPG sites was rated Game of the Year for 2002. RPG of the Year. So it's kind of mind-boggling. A game with that much prestige didn't even get released. Now, to come full circle, it's actually going to get released on the European PSN, essentially being the European version's first ever release. And I said, to actually make that my final Konami game, that's actually kind of cool. The one Konami game I've wanted to play more than anything will be the final game I play from them. That's awesome.
That is some full circle there.
That is just, oh man, I'm actually looking forward to it. I really am. I hope Konami hasn't pulled the plug on us. It's more Sony's deal. It's no, we'll release Suikoden 3, bugger you all. You go make a mobile game. It's seriously, whatever they do. Okay, to end this segment, I want to talk about something that's happened recently that I think is awesome for YouTube at least, because YouTube doesn't like to step in and help out their content creators usually. But recently, there's a video by a YouTube user by name Super Bunny Hop, and he made
Super buddy
Yeah, and
cop.
he made
Okay.
a video talking about the whole thing, and he had some insider information, and he was very gracious enough to say, people don't take this as fact. This is just insider anonymous information. It could be rumors. Who knows? He must have hit a nerve because Konami took that video down within a day.
Wait, how can you
Th-
take a video down?
but
Huh?
this even gets better. They took it
Okay, okay,
down.
okay.
This is one of the only instances where YouTube put it back up because YouTube stepped in and say, you don't have sufficient reason to take down this video. Like this, and this. I'm like, wait a second, YouTube helped out a content creator? What?
Well, I think they'd probably be fairly okay with doing that sort of thing. Particularly, they
Yeah.
should be. They should be backing people that are bringing them traffic by standing up for them when you have other people just recklessly or just fraudulently just saying, "Hey, this is offensive." Well, no, not even offensive. This is copyrighted material, even though there's absolutely nothing to do with it other than just saying the company
Well,
name or something
yeah,
like that.
the thing that I think got copyrighted is he had a little bit of footage from Metal Gear Rising, and I think that's what they were trying to take out. But at the same time, it's like, I bet they took it down, because a lot of people have been bitching about Konami. Why this video? It's because I think he actually hit some big points, and he may have actually said the reasoning. One of the things that interests me is the Konami president. Is that he's been Konami president since 1969, long ass time. He's not happy with Kojima, and the fact is he wants more returns from something like Metal Gear Solid, because he invests a lot of time and money in the Metal Gear series for Kojima to make, and they never make the type of money that he wanted always to invest. And I think he hit this point where he's like, I don't want to invest in this. Fuck Kojima. And there was rumors saying that there was just tensions between them two. Like Kojima, the president wasn't happy with Kojima with the games he made, and I think it reached a boiling point. It's like, I don't want to take a chance on these games anymore. And I'm like, if you're honest about it, it's like, guys, I don't feel my heart's in this anymore. As president, I want to make this choice of doing this. I'm sorry. Okay, perfect. No, he's a royal dick about this. Like, just been hearing some of the scare tactics he's used to make his employees quit, supposedly. Oh, that's a terrible way to run a business, honestly.
That doesn't
It's
surprise me.
just, that's cool.
It honestly doesn't surprise me.
So,
As somebody who's seen Japanese companies up close, some of that sort of thing, the strong arm tactics, don't surprise me.
that's where I don't have any pity for the guy. It's like, if you're gonna, like, make life difficult for people that just see this as a job, and, and they're trying to do their best, and you make life hell for them, so you force them to quit, you do not have my sympathy. Screw you, honestly.
But he sure got your money.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say seriously, we're bitching, but everyone's going to be getting Metal Gear Solid 5. Everyone's bitching about,
Well,
it's
not
a
everybody,
Hideo
but-
Kojima game. Yeah, you're still going to buy it because he did make the game.
I seen a lot of people saying only buy it secondhand.
Yeah. But
but-
yeah, like I said, these haven't been sort of confirmed unless we get a lot more hard evidence. But I wouldn't be surprised, honestly, especially since they took it down now. And they should learn on YouTube more than ever, if you take something down just to basically hide this piece of information, all you are doing is attracting more of an audience. This is what happened with the Shining Force. They wanted to take it down because they wanted people to focus on the new game. All they did is got a ton of bad press because of it, and I don't think the game did as well. Well, and I don't know what happened, but
it looked bad anyways.
I
but,
mean,
that's
as
beside
someone
the
who
point.
was kind of deep into the Shining Force community and reading people, like people who were on these Shining Force communities were part of YouTube, and they were getting their channels taken down, and they were heartbroken, and it was really sad to see this happen. So, and it didn't end well for them. In the end, it did not end well for Sega. So, I think I just have to accept the fact that a lot of Japanese companies do not like YouTube at all. They really don't like their content, but at the same time, that's where the fair use laws lie and all that. And I don't know. I really don't. Like, as someone who I really wanted to go full out with my channel talking about Sega games, and I will. I've gotten over that. Oh, I don't want any trouble from Sega. No, screw that, man. I want to talk about my favorite.
Greg is inviting all of the trouble from Sega. Bring it on, little puny one.
I do want to talk about some of my favorite Sega games, because I do see videos of my games still up there, so that's stupid to begin with. They just take down selective few. Well, some still remain, so it's like, well, that's kind of stupid. That's asinine. But who knows what these people are thinking. And anyway, before we go on and on and on, I'm just going to leave it at that. Konami, it's been fantastic, and whatever you do, well, it's none of my business. Honestly. None of my business. I have a great stack of Metal Gear games. I have nearly a full Suikoden collection, and I have all the Castlevania Metroidvania games. I am set, even though I still need a copy of Azure Dreams to tie everything up. And then, yeah, that's it. Yeah, I've got this amazing backlog of Konami games and just can rest off them for the rest of my life.
Done and done.
Like my hands. And that's it for the news part of the podcast. And
that was a lengthy
it
one
was,
today.
and I thought it was going to be small, but then I kind of drew it out with the... Oh! No!
We forgot One Piece.
Yeah! Maybe we could forego like the discussion for another time, unless you're up for it, but there is something we have to talk about, and I'm surprised it didn't.
We have to talk about this. I was waiting for you to bring it up.
I didn't write it down, that's why I forgot, but dear listeners, we love Fire Emblem. Do not think what we're about to say makes that not true, because we love Fire Emblem.
Or what we said about the first episode.
And even what we said about the news last time with Fire Emblem Lift. But more news for Fire Emblem If has surfaced, and I've already discussed it with Taylor, but there's actually another piece of news I haven't discussed with Taylor, and I've actually thought about this at long length, that it could be a minor issue, but it can be resolved, but it's a much beloved element of the series that has been finally taken out that I'm kind of about, but we'll get into something that we already know about, and it seems that they want as many people to play If as possible, so they've put in a new mode, so it's like, oh, is it going to be a new challenging mode? Not so much. You see, what happened with Awakening is they wanted to bring more players in, so they created a mode called Casual Mode. Basically, in this mode, if someone dies on the field, they come back the next battle. As an old fan for me, it's like, that takes away a lot. That's pretty shit. I don't like that. But
yeah, same here.
A lot of people did. It's like, okay. It's kind of like Shining Force. Even though in Shining Force you actually had to pay to resurrect your character, so it came at a price, and I really liked that. But apparently that wasn't enough for some people. So now they've created a third mode called Phoenix Mode.
It's basically quicker than Jesus mode.
Basically, if a character dies in one turn, they will get resurrected the following turn. All I have to say is this. What the serious fuck? Seriously. This is a strategy RPG. You essentially are taking out the strategy by doing this. Now, you're thinking, Greg, why are you being angry? It's optional. Yeah, I'm going to scale back and say it's optional, and that's the only reason I haven't thrown a chair yet. If this was a mandatory, I would be a little bit more than miffed. I would be berserk mode right now. I'd just be... But the fact that they have a mode for people that think the game is too hard, they have to resort to that, at this point, you might as well just witness the game on YouTube as a Let's Play. Because there is no challenge. And as someone who kind of debates challenge in video games, sometimes I like it, sometimes I don't, I will go on record saying I love Fire Emblem for its challenge. If a character dies, I reset the battle. I have no regrets. Sometimes I get frustrated, but I've gone to this rhythm that's what Fire Emblem is to me. I want to have a battle perfect. I want everyone alive. I want them to resist the enemy attack and done their part. They all come out alive. And just it adds to the experience. The fact Classic Mode is there is the saving grace for Fire Emblem If. Now, I thought Classic Mode was enough to bring out sort of the more casual sort of people that they have less repercussions. But to have a game where there is no repercussions for your actions. Like, to die in Phoenix Mode, you would actually have to have everyone dead or the main character gets slain. Seriously.
This is so dumb. This is one of those issues that I have with not having a challenge. And it's I understand that it's frustrating when a character dies. It's not like it hasn't happened to me a million and fucking 80,000 times. Characters die, and I want to like break my controllers in half and just like eat them out of rage at certain instances. I mean, I am off and on playing Path of Radiance on hard because I usually just play them on the normal modes, but I'm like, you know what? Let's bump it up and actually make this a bit more difficult. So I'm playing it on hard. And there's certain things that, like what is it? The 8th stage, one of the earlier stages where you're at the what's her name? Maria. I guess his name. She appears. That chapter. What's that? Chapter 6, Chapter 8, Chapter 9.
This is Path of Radiance talking about. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. I had to do that like a billion fucking times because the assholes couldn't take care of the stupid marauding axeman that pulls pirate that pulls out of the ocean, and I couldn't get it there in time to keep them from burning down houses. Sure, that pissed me off a lot because I'd be sitting there going, motherfucker, kind of thing. But you know what? You know what it did? It made me change my strategy a bit. It made me think, well, maybe I should do something a little different. God forbid. I mean, that's... yeah, it is frustrating. I understand. It's especially frustrating if you get really late in the game and you get to a hard fight and you can't get through it, or you start losing characters and stuff. And then you're like, fuck it, starting over. I did not get blessed this game, and all my characters.
Oh, just a quick correction. It's Marcia in the English version. Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. But no, I totally.
Well, yeah, it's probably. Yeah,
I totally understand.
Okay.
Like for me, like I keep forgetting the name where you fight like one of the major leaders of the Black Fang, and it's an optional battle. I keep forgetting mostly, but it's no, the female, the witch.
Oh,
her optional battle. That was the hardest battle in Reckoner Ken. That was just that I must have done that like 20 times. But
well, because are you talking about where it's dark and you're trying to save which chapter are you, where you get Jafar?
Oh yeah, it's the optional one, but you have to fight her, and that's a tough.
Okay, I know.
Yeah, that's a tough battle.
Yeah.
The other one, of course, the Notorious battle is the end of chapter 2 in Radiant Dawn. That is like the epitome of a strategy RPG where they cover all their bases and you have to rely on gambits and just good luck.
Prayer is another one that you have to rely on. Lots of praying, lots of prayers.
Lots of me screaming crit and dodge. So yeah, that's why I love Fire Emblem. And just to see this, it's like, I mean, we gave shit for people playing casual on Awakening. At this point, like, you want to play casual, go for it. But Phoenix mode,
quicker than Jesus mode really kind of gets to me because that's, as you said, you're not learning anything from that. You're basically just you're juggernauting things. You're just bashing your head into the damn wall. And you're just like, yeah, it's working. But at
the same time, I'm not here to tell people how to play their games. It's just, I'm only just saying how I want to play the game. And I'm just saying I love the challenge of Fire Emblem games. I'm going to be sticking with classic mode. If someone dies, I'm restarting the game. Now, this is the other thing I kind of want to hide from you, and it's going to be sad, but here's going to be my reasoning for it, that they can sort of turn it back. But an old Fire Emblem staple is going to get removed from the game.
Is this? Let me take a guess. Is it the I'm totally blanking on it. Like the relationship stuff.
I think someone said this happened in Gaiden as well. They're going to be taking away the weapons usages.
Oh yeah, Gaiden. You didn't have.
Okay,
that
so it's going to be like Gaiden, folks. There is no weapons usages anymore.
That kind of sucks because Gaiden, you got a Thunder Sword, fucking take it and just spam. I mean, it's that's that.
Now, here's my reasoning for it, that they can sort of tweak it to where it doesn't sort of become an issue. The whole thing with earning gold in Fire Emblem is so you can stock up on weaponry that you're going to use in battle. Two things now want to happen with Fifth. One, gold is scarce because you now have weapons that don't break. Or two, weapons are insanely expensive. You know, new weapons are insanely expensive that it kind of it kind of wraps up the same sort of I'm kind of mixing my words here. It's sort of the same sort of gold management as you will buying a shit ton of weapons with like usages to buy one weapon that's infinite, you know. If it works out the same, I have no issue. But if you like get these infinite weapons and you still get a shitload of gold, yeah.
Well, I wonder if it might be because perhaps they're going to use it for something else. If they're doing things a little bit different, maybe it's for repairing some sort of town or something. I have no fucking clue. Maybe you're donating it to...
Someone brought up Genealogy of the Holy War that it might be just that you would have to repair your weapons, but it won't be like a set number of usages. Like if you come up against an armor knight, it might have a percentage to damage or break the weapon.
That'd be kind of cool, but also frustrating because you might be the really unlucky soul that has something and it's got like a 5% break chance and break, I mean, yeah, Genealogy of a Holy War has it where you can just repair things, but that's because Genealogy of the Holy War is a damn good Fire Emblem game. But if anything, I guess I would have to say I hope that any sort of holy super bejesus weapons or whatnot have limited usage. I highly doubt it from hearing from that, but I think that would be at least a little bit more tolerable. Or if there's at least something there's like a point where after you get used so much, perhaps like the weapon stats decrease. Maybe not breaks, but it just decreases to a certain point. I highly doubt it.
No, well, like I said, it's just, I know there's a lot of old school Fire Emblem fans that are just a little bit annoyed, but at the same time, classic mode is there. Hopefully they can work this well into the game. And okay, I want to ask Nintendo questions about this whole Phoenix mode, because I'm going to say this now. If it's a part of the Hoshino version, that would be a little bit better, because like if they have a reasoning why the Hoshino clan has the power to resurrect everyone every turn, I wouldn't use it, but at least it'd be plausible with the kingdom. Because I'm reading the story and it's just like the creators still trying to get it across to everyone that Noir is going to be really difficult. And that's really making the older fans happy.
We shall see.
It's just making the older fans really happy. It's just like, at the same time, it's kind of warning new fans, like, don't play Noir if you want an easy experience. You're just telling me to buy Noir more than anything. So, but aside from the difficulty, right. I just like the culture of this Black Kingdom. Essentially, you are adopted son of a power-hungry piece of shit. Because when I look at this guy, it's oh man, he reminds me of the old school Fire Emblem villains. I just want to see a scene with him, and I just want to confirm my suspicions, that he is this god tier Fire Emblem villain. I'm just really looking forward to it.
Well, what a month and
yeah.
Was it June 25th? Yeah. Oh, that was buried in my mind. That's like innate Fire Emblem knowledge coming out there. So, I haven't even looked at it yet. Sweet.
Well, just I'm hoping I'm not hyping it up too much, but it's just from what I've seen in the trailers, I'm just like, cool. And I like that. I think both clans have like this leader who's like the oldest sibling are both males, and you see the trailer and they're like on both sides. I think they are rivals. I think that's also cool as well. So. Yeah, man. Like I said, as much as we bitch about some of the choices they're making, it is shaping up to be a cool experience in terms of story. So, yeah,
we'll see. I mean,
and there's one other thing I can add. Royalty on both sides have unique powers to shift certain things in the battle. Called the Dragon Focus or something like that. And basically, these people can change certain things with the battle, like. If there's a battle that has a fallen bridge, only these characters have the power to basically like shift the Earth to create bridges and sort of change the scope of the battle. I don't know what the cost is going to be, but only these characters have the power to do it. So that's interesting.
That could be, yeah. That's always something that never gets really touched upon a lot, is the whole geomancy aspect, and to be able to have that in a Fire Emblem game could be pretty nifty.
As long as it ties into the story as well, really cool that they.
That would help. I mean, just in a sense of a strategy, it could be an interesting element if if they kind of think about it and whatnot, and like with the whole land bridge sort of thing. It could be interesting, but
we'll see how it comes out, and hopefully that'll probably be the last piece of news, because we've talked about it so much, and I joked to Taylor, it's like, how about we do just a Fire Emblem focused podcast, and I guess Trusler and Mac kind of is. We always talk about it, and I think it's pretty cool. But
well, it is coming out in a month and some change, so I mean that also kind of helps. And we're never talking about that SMT one, so
yeah.
I'm not talking about that one.
Oh,
that is not a Fire Emblem game. That is a fucking dress me up Fire Emblem game.
It's just a Persona game. I mean, that's not a knock on Persona, because I love Persona, but that just feels like more of a Shin Megami Tensei spin-off more than a Fire Emblem game. So
yeah, and that's not something I care.
So
another one of those. There's a wide library of games. That's part of the library I never venture into.
I have multiple times, have different experiences, both good and bad. So, but anyway, I'm looking forward to. I'm really hoping that if knocks it out of the ballpark, even though these choices, and like I said, it's purely optional. And that's why I haven't gone off the deep end. So, yeah.
Yeah, that helps it a bit, as in a lot, because that was my issue with just Awakening. I understand there's choices, but it's all in one game, and it's all not good. But if I can not have to deal with quicker than Jesus revival mode, then I will be okay. I will soothe the anger within. I will be a calm, flowing brook.
Alrighty, and that is the news section. And every time we say that the news section is going to be shorter and shorter, and it ends up being more substantial than the last episode. And we did cover a lot of great stuff this episode, so I think we'll try to nail this with the discussion very quickly. I'm not going to go into much detail because I'm only going to give a handful of examples, but basically, Taylor and myself, we wanted to basically briefly discuss DLC with video games. And it's a very big sore spot for a lot of gamers. They say it's kind of ruined gaming in a little bit, but I don't have that much of an issue. But I'm someone who can easily say I have both good and bad experiences with DLC. But before I get into that, I would like to know your thoughts on DLC as a whole, Taylor.
DLC as a whole, to me, is, or could be, a cool idea to generate money for possibly some other gaming endeavor, maybe like a sequel or something. However, things like Day 1 DLC, or things that cost money for just like a different costume in games, kind of DLC, these sorts of things really have pissed me off. I don't like these so much. I think you can. I want to say that there's some that they have for different games with like Lawson or like work uniforms and stuff like that, which can be kind of funny. But I think you could just buy things to get them, like buy things at the store or pay money for it. I wish, because these sorts of things were things that you would unlock or find in older games. Case in point, Chrono Cross has those different borders, the windows that you'd find throughout the game. Why? I mean, why is this such a hard thing to do? I mean, if it's a DLC that it's adding to the story, or is something, I would just say adding to like a story, or is it like maybe, for example, the taking the feedback from a game or something like Call of Duty or Halo or kind of like those multiplayer death matches, bang 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 kind of thing. Taking feedback from all that and making new maps, kind of thing. I don't have an issue with that. That's you're taking feedback and you're like, okay, they like this sort of aspect, they don't like this sort of aspect. All right, let's make some new maps, guys, and see how they feel about this. And it's a good way to kind of keep people's attention for that game until their next game can come out. But I think a lot of times companies just suck at utilizing it in a way that doesn't make it look like they're just trying to put their hands down your pants and kind of.
It does seem that way with a lot of companies, and like I said, there's a lot of things I can't agree and disagree because some things would make me like a hypocrite, like the so-called people who do buy costumes. I've actually done that for a few games. Some work, some don't, and I'm going to be on record to say I don't think buying DLC costumes for an RPG kind of changes things, because I don't know why I feel that way, because we mentioned Dragon Quest VIII before. And do you know in the level 5 games there are actually costume changes, but they're part of the game. Like certain pieces of armor will change the character's opinion. Well, actually, in Dragon Quest VIII, it's actually kind of done for nefarious means. I'm not going to lie about that.
In 7, you're equipping things, and what they're holding changes, and when they change their class, it'll change their outfits.
Yeah, that's okay. Like, the thing is, I think it's actually good for fighting games, and the reason why, it's because, okay, some people can play fighting games to, the brink of time, and they can look at the same character over and over, in the same environments over and over, and that's cool. Then you got the next level of people like me. It's like, we can do that, but we wouldn't mind changing costumes and changing arenas from time to time. And with games like Street Fighter and Dead or Alive, I have the option to do that. And I think it's cool. Here's the problem I have with Dead or Alive. Some of the prices for some of the costumes is just ridiculous.
Well, because your super bouncy titty simulator is,
Hey, that's optional. That's optional, Taylor. You can set the press to just being stiff as a rock. They're to begin with, it was kind of like a nice little thing. They had them recently priced. Now they've just gone apeshit with some of the costs. Like, to get a collection of 20 costumes, it's nearly $40 to $50. I'm like, that's the price of a game on itself. That's where I kind of draw the line. If the costume was $1 or $2 or $3 at the most, I'd be fine with that. But I've played some fighting games where it costs $3, $4 to get a whole set. And I'm like, that's normal. But, I mean, the season pass for Dead or Alive 5 last round is $130 in Australia. And I'm like, that's actually the price of a Nintendo 2DS. Right there. You can get a gaming system for that price. And I'm like, no. At that point, I'm like, I'd buy costumes single for single characters at $2, $3. I am not paying $130 to get a whole set of costumes for a game that costs less than the season pass. That's ridiculous. And the problem is, this is not a current Koei practice, or Tecmo Koei practice, because I'm going to mention other Tecmo Koei games that actually do it right. But I'll hand it over back to Taylor if he's got anything else to say in terms of his experiences with DLC.
Not very much. I did a little bit with Awakening, and that has nothing to do why I dislike the game so much.
Yeah.
But I did a little bit of that, and some of it was kind of nifty because they had a couple. The last one I remember downloading was one from the Grills camp.
Oh yeah.
And it was, I think it was based off of that map, if I recall correctly. And you're supposed to defend it from a whole bunch of marauding assholes from earlier Fire Emblem games. That was the last one I remember getting and playing through, and I was like, okay, that's kind of nice. That was, but I mean, it was like what was it, to get those maps are $2-3 a pop.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's nice that you get a different, you get another map, so it's like a chapter, and it's not completely just, not all of them are really, really super easy or really, really short. So, yeah, but I was just like, yeah, I can't. I don't want to do this kind of thing. I don't want to be paying more and 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 more.
And that's the thing for me. When I saw DLC for the first time, it's like I thought this was the natural progression for expansion packs, because for all of you that don't know, expansion packs were released like in the 90s, maybe even the 80s, but the 90s, early 2000s to most PC games and some console games, where they would extend the life of a certain game. Like mostly strategy games were the biggest points. Like if it was like Warcraft or Command and Conquer, they would make expansion packs that would give them a lot more maps and a little bit extra storyline, and it was pretty cool. And DLC was kind of ripe to be sort of like the digital extension to that, but they did it at a much smaller scale. And it for me, it is wishy-washy. Like there is some good DLC and there's some bad DLC. I'm actually not a big fan of DLC endings. Just because an ending's bad, I mean, they scuttle to make a better ending. And you'd think I'd be one of those only people that would be good, because I talk about E7, where, how I wasn't really happy with that ending. Where it's like, I don't want them to, like, go out and make a DLC ending for E7. No, I just want them to focus on making a better ending for the next East game. That's my mindset. And I know, like Square Enix with Final Fantasy 13-2 and more so BioWare for Mass Effect 3, that they rush out just to please the fans. And it's good in one way, but I think it's tacky in another way. It's hard to describe how I feel about it. But the fact you had to download a better ending, it's just, I don't know. I mean, that's sort of something that should be in quality control. Like everyone working there sort of had deliberation and just had people sitting there saying, does this ending work, does it not? Because more than ever, usually most people write a good ending for their video games. But
really?
It would 660,
really?
6 out of 10, maybe?
I don't know about that. I find a lot of endings for video games are kind of weak. Maybe it's just because it's a lot of the times it's very standard, oh, you won, yay, parade, kind of thing. But I don't know. I don't know. I think this is an extension of writing in itself, that really well written games stand out very well, because you're like, wow, that's pretty legit, yo. Yeah. But ones that aren't written very well, you're just kind of like,
yeah.
That's because it's a video game.
I think the big problem with me is, okay, if you're going to do a different ending, fair enough, make it free. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't the 13.2 one, didn't you actually have to pay for that?
I did not venture into
I
any
did.
of that. I stopped at
I think someone said you did. It's like, that's where I have a big fucking issue with paying for a happier ending. Fuck that.
Well, you're paying for your happy ending, eh?
Fuck
Come on.
that shit. Like, seriously, no way. But, okay, before I get into my, best examples of DLC, here's my worst example of DLC ever is, and it's going back to Konami. Good old Konami.
Whoops.
Lords of Shadow had DLC and had 2 called Riviere and Resurrection. And this essentially, spoilers, told the story of how Gabriel Belmont became Count Dracula. Cool. You think this would be cool? This culminated into 90 minutes of content for a major spectacle, and they did cut a lot of corners. They reused a lot of maps, but they also created a whole new map, and then you had to fight this being, I forget his name, and it's like this epic boss battle. But it wasn't as epic as the final battle, and it was kind of weak, sort of this leading up to Gabriel becoming Dracula. Also, that they didn't use cutscenes because they couldn't afford them, so they got, I think it was Ashley Wood or someone else who specialized. They did sort of like the hand-drawn sort of cutscenes for Peace Walker to do them for the DLC, which I didn't really have an issue with. It's just that the content was so short, and I don't mind if the DLC is short if it's priced fairly, which it most
This was not priced.
It was $30.
Oh
which
my
was a
God.
third of the cost of the game. And I said to myself, no, this is not worth $30.
Oh my goodness.
And I basically, at that point, I actually did feel generally ripped off for the content I got. And it's actually now included in the Castlevania Complete Lords of Shadows collection. And you also get Mirror of Fate as an entire full game as an extra. I recommend...
Joke's on you, Greg.
Recommend you buy that instead. And you know what the ironic thing is? You could get that entirely for $30 at the moment. So irony is bitter. So
irony is $30.
yeah, that is folks my representation of the worst DLC I've ever encountered. Fast forwarding to now, I'm still experiencing some of the best DLC money can buy. For $20 was the season pass for Hyrule Warriors. I paid that $20, and I got my money's worth and then some. It greatly expanded the game by 70%, which is crazy. Like when you buy Hyrule Warriors, the retail copy, you get the story mode, and you get two adventure maps. You get one adventure map that's full, and then you get the rewards map that's unlocked when you unlock a certain puzzle where you have to collect gold scatillas. Now, when you start venturing into DLC, you get you get new maps, and people wondering how big are these maps? They're huge, like more than 100 battles to be had, or 140 something battles on each map. Huge, and they all have their different sort of objectives and different collectibles in each individual square, and it's become an obsession for me. I'm nearing the 250-hour mark playing this game. It was my favorite game of 2014. It has become one of my favorite games in the last 2 decades. I love it. And someone who's a big fan of Legend of Zelda, I can pour my love and my soul into this game and just have so much fun playing all the different characters and so changing it up with the different battles with the different prerequisites. I'm having so much fun. And the fact it's because of this DLC. It adds more characters. Costumes are an afterthought. It's like a little sort of nice that's there. You get more characters. You get different weapons for characters that completely change their game styles. So Link has about 7 or 8 weapons. And they all play differently. Well, except for the normal sword and the Master Sword plays the same, but they're in their 2 different categories. But other than that, then you've got different weapons like the ball and chain, the spinner. The Great Fairy is a weapon, even though it's actually the worst in the game. She can...
Does he have a shovel?
Okay.
Shovel
See,
weapon?
okay, the Great Fairy counts as a weapon for Link, but Link is actually trapped in a glass bottle, and you actually play as the Great Fairy. And she's actually 10 feet tall, and the people on the battlefield's really small. You think this would be cool, but her controls is really clunky, and they didn't program like large characters really well. So it doesn't come off that great, and I had a real hard time playing as the Great Fairy trying to get her A rank in a battle. So, but still, I still enjoyed it. But it's still cool that they kind of increased the life of you playing your favorite character, like Zelda. Zelda only began having like a rapier as her holy weapon and having a baton as her lightning weapon, and then months later she got a Dominion Rod, which became her darkness weapon. So she'd go into darkness battlefields and have the upper hand because certain battlefields had a certain affinity. If you had a character with this affinity, they'd have a increase in attack power, an increase in defense. So it was really cool that darkness battles for Zelda would always be hard for her because she'd have a rapier, you'd have to resort to the lightning baton to not have any penalties. But the fact she had the Dominion World, now she can go into the darkness battles and rock the battlefield, so to speak, which is awesome. And they kept updating this, and it was awesome. So, I mean, the last characters they got, because now they've finished their round of DLC, the game is now complete. Last characters were Tingle and Fierce Deity Link, which is pretty cool. Tingle's fucking hilarious. Oh, I love his moves. He's got bag of rupees, bag of bombs, bag of balloons. Funny.
Bag of bags. Tingle. He's just throwing bags everywhere.
And then Fierce Deity Link, to be more specific, it's actually Majora's Mask Kid Link, who has the two-handed sword, and in his moveset,
The Rose
Yeah,
Sword?
I can't remember what
Okay.
it's called, but it's been a while since playing Majora's Mask. But he has the Fierce Deity Mask as an attack and as a combo. Like, he'll end the combo, put the mask on, turn his Fierce Deity Link, and just be fucking crazy, you know? So, there's so much content, and the fact that the DLC actually increases the life of the game more so than what's on the disc is fantastic. And people's like, because one of the biggest sticking point for a lot of people is, okay, if DLC comes from a separate file that's not included on the disc, awesome. People have big problems with content already on the disc, you just have to unlock it. I can kind of understand that,
Yeah, because it's already there, and so that's like, buy. It's like buying a box, and you open this box, and in the box there's a little compartment that's locked, and you're like, "What the fuck, dude? I just bought this box from you.
Now,
Hello."
yeah.
And now you have to paying a key to get into that compartment.
Now, here's where it is for Hyrule Warriors, because it's not so much locked content as it is generating from the disc content. Because the thing with Hyrule Warriors is it generates the environment from the game disc, honestly. And when they do these new adventure maps, they are reusing old Battlefield maps and basically the same enemy sprites and all that. But they change the prerequisite and they do add a lot of new things. Like with the Master Quest map, there's a lot of challenges on each map. Like you can't just go into it in the normal adventure mode. You go into adventure mode, go into the battles, you hack stuff away, you have fun. In Master Quest mode, they have challenges like you have to do this map in 5 minutes, or you cannot get hit. It's like, why can't I get hit? Boom, you're dead. or it takes you down to one hit. It adds some challenge. The Twilight Princess map adds challenges on certain maps because it's in the realm of Twilight and all that jazz. And they do changing up considerably and really change the formula up really well. And of course, then you have the Majora's Mask map where it has the 3-day rule. You can only do 3 battles when it resets. So you have to reach a certain point of the map, and you have to hit that point where you can walk back to it. Genius, cool, and it's in theme with that map, the Termina map. So, yeah, man, I'm digging this. I think it's the best money. It's $20. I paid only $20, and I get all this. Just it's a game within itself, and I absolutely love the fact that they did it. Now, this is where Tecmo Koei even becomes more generous, and I think it has to do with the actual producers more than just Tecmo Koei themselves, because Nintendo is the one that helps them make this game. They probably have a lot of backing to what they do as well. Square Enix kind of takes it a step further, surprisingly, with Dragon Quest Heroes. You don't have to pay for anything with Dragon Quest Heroes. All DLC is completely free, which is awesome. And it's the means to play some of the more villainous characters. Like, when I found out that you could play as Sorrow the Manslayer, I was like, take my money, because he's one of my favorite villains in video games. I just think he's got a cool design. I know a lot of people joke that he's Dragon Quest Sephiroth. Rightfully so, actually.
Dragon Quest Sephiroth. I'm sorry.
So, rightfully so. In actuality, and one of I think is irony is Pissarro actually came before Sephiroth. And I said, wow, if they can get a piece of artwork of him with the silver hair, because a lot of people think that he only got that artwork with the PS1 version of 4. Who knows? If there is actually artwork of him in the NES version, then they can say, oh shit, Sephiroth was inspired by Sorrow the Manslayer in terms of look. So interesting to think about that. But yeah, he's one of my favorite villains. Supposedly in one of the last DLCs, you could fight Zoma. So I'm like, oh.
Which is awesome, saying Zoma's like the pinnacle villain of at least the old Dragon School, or the old guard of Dragon School, Dragon Quest.
He's a prick in Dragon Quest 9 when you fought those adventure battles. He is insufferable. I think he actually could be the hardest boss in the game. So,
I mean, it's amazing fighting him in 3 because you're going through all that, and then you're. Like, surprise, there's this whole other thing. Oh, shit. And so you get there, and it's like, I'm so asshole.
And now it's awesome that you can fight him in real time in an action RPG sense. It's like, I'm so looking forward to that. And the fact you didn't have to pay for him. It was completely free. So people bitch the moan at Tecmo Koei. It's like, no, I think it might have been Tecmo's decision to overprice costume DLC for Dead or Alive. It might be Tecmo's decision. because they've been very reasonable for most of the Warriors games. So I'm I mean, I haven't gone to download any sort of like all the different sort of Gundams for Dynasty Warriors Gundam Reborn, but I probably would have had some spare extra money, but I haven't gone back into playing that game in a while, which I will soon anyway. But anyway, love you, Tecmo Koei, for all the Warriors content. I think it's well worth the price of admission, especially with Hyrule Warriors, and thanks for all the free DLC for Heroes. You know, what I'm hoping is they will be very gracious to do this in the West for Dragon Quest Heroes Western release, and they don't charge for stuff that they got free in Japan. That'd be criminal.
Too bad. I don't know. The one thing I wouldn't mind as a DLC kind of thing, I kind of mentioned it there before, is that if they made some sort of DLC that was like you had a game that when you finish it up, you had ideas for a sequel for it. Perhaps it wasn't quite, resolved or whatnot. It just kind of ended. It's kind of like that whole E7 ordeal.
Yeah.
Oh goodness, having a heart attack. But okay, back. But if they were to have some sort of, like a few hours, like after, what happened in there to lead into this next game kind of thing, I don't have an issue with that. That would be kind of cool, but it doesn't ever seem to be the case.
Well, okay, let's use an analogy. If DLC magically existed in the 80s, right? I would imagine that one of the games that would be transferred to become DLC, okay, is Mario The Lost Worlds. Like, I could consider that now in today's standard to be DLC. Like, you'd have the original Mario's, and then the Lost Stars would be... Or Lost Worlds, I get that mixed up.
Lost
Levels. I even got it completely wrong there. Thank you. Yeah, that would be DLC. It'd be like a second version of the game, but it reuses assets from the original game.
Well, no, they've got an arcade version that was a little bit harder. That was using the NES, like the original Mario stuff. That's not Lost Levels. But I'm trying to remember what made it a little bit harder. I mean, even that, you could, here's the hard mode kind of thing. That's what the hell that would be. You want to play Mega Man 2 on easy? Well, fuck you. You have to pay $5 DLC or whatever, if that was the case. No,
I wouldn't agree with that either, paying for a higher difficulty level. I mean, that's the beauty of, like, Mario Kart. They're not paying anyone for 200 CCs, which is awesome, you just download it.
Well, you got to pay for Link.
Oh, man. When I get Mario Kart, I'm doing that as a prerequisite. It's like, that was one of my dreams going. It's like, I want Link on a cart. It's like, no, I'm going to get Link on a Master Cycle. Like, seriously, if you can somehow put Ganon in there on some kind of, like, tricked out bike from the Twilight Realm or some crap, just like...
He'd be driving that Pimp-mobile that Wario has, the purple Cadillac thing. That's what I could see Ganon driving around in. Just be getting all the bitches.
I'd be so happy. If people don't know, I wouldn't say I have an obsession with Ganon, but he's like, I've quoted him as saying my second favorite video game villain of all time. Like, there's something about him that... I've wanted to do a video on this, but I do this from time to time. I actually draw pictures of him on the Me vs. Zelda community. Recently, I took my my Wind Waker Ganon figure, and I looked at him, and I was sketching him, and I put it up. I actually haven't gone on to see if anyone has appreciated it. But I also did that photo of him when he's got his back turned, and the flames around him saying, "The one who bring destruction to Hyrule, his name was Ganondorf," and just like... So, yeah, I do that from time to time, and I did it a couple of nights ago. It was really cool. I've always wanted to draw his Twilight Princess or his Hyrule Warriors. It's a bit more high profile for my skills, So, the Zelda community is one of those communities I really love, and I like the fact that they've got an extension of it on the Miiverse. I love and there's so many pieces of art that people do on their Wii pads from Japan that's so amazing. And it's like, I just click like straight away, and there's so many there's a lot of kids that go on there too that love Zelda. They don't have drawing skills, but you can see what they're trying to do. A lot of people like their stuff anyway, so really, it's like anti-Facebook. It's like go on Facebook so much.
Everybody's happy.
Yeah, yeah. There's no bullshit at all, you know. It's so amazing. Smash community is 50-50. You get a lot of people bitch and moan while this character isn't in this game. And I did that post about why the Black Knight should be in it. I actually got so many likes saying, "Wow, you're the most level-headed poster on the community." It's like, wow, that's the fantastic comment I've ever.
That's a scary thought.
Yeah,
though.
it's the biggest compliment I've ever gotten. Because I didn't say, I just want the Black Knight. I say, hey, Black Knight should be in it. Should be slow as fuck because of that armor. But should be more powerful than Ike. You know, rah, rah, rah. More defense. But has all these different, like, be harder to recover if he gets thrown off the edge.
But I think that's a little bit of a thing with the Black Knight. He's obviously not slow
Yeah,
enough.
he's not slow, but
slow when he's fighting. But because of just how he's presented in the battles, like you see him when he's fighting Grail, he's like fuck you.
He's just walking over like a tank.
He's
Chunk, 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 funk.
It does in the English one when he's basically telling you to reset the game. Does he say that in English, or do they change that? Because in the Japanese one, he says something. I can't remember exactly what he says, but he's like, "Yeah, you should probably reset," and then he just fucking kills your character. It's pretty funny.
I'll have to check that now because that's pretty interesting.
I'll try to find it, but he's just like a Riseto Shio kind of, yeah. But he has like a line about it or something, and then character dies.
Two reasons I want that. I'm a big fan of the Black Knight. It's one of my favorite Fire Emblem villains. I like his backstory, and I like his design. Anything to get against the Black Knight remixed on a Smash game. That would be as like a full mixed version. Because the problem with that is it's only a minute something long because it's only meant for a battle. But if they could remix it to go a little bit longer, or make a medley of it like they usually do with the Fire Emblem music for Smash. Mix it in.
I would say they had a few of them on there that I was pretty happy about, like what is it? Beauty's a Mad Mistress.
Yeah,
I think
Id Purpose was there for the recent Smash one, which is pretty awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah, but anyway, we've gone off the subject of DLC, and with some awesome talk of how awesome some of the Nintendo communities could be. So, just to end it, I think DLC hasn't ruined gaming as we had. I think there is a lot of developers that do nickel and dime a lot of people. At the same token, I do like the fact that it does keep jobs open. Like, say Daryl Live. Okay, yes, they charge an arm and a leg. But then you got people still working at Tecmo Koei that's doing nothing but making costumes for characters, and then fine-tuning them and all that. And it creates jobs awesome. At the same time, it'd be nice if you can meet in the middle where you can make them affordable and, have these people still keep their jobs,
Yeah, I think it requires a bit of a deft hand to balance it in a way that it doesn't look like you're just trying to get money from people and also offering content. I mean, people would say, well, why isn't this on here? Sometimes, you can't just spend the whole, over and over, like, just waiting to just add more stuff because game's going to take like 12 years.
Well, just to end it off, let's break down Hyrule Warriors like the season pass, and it does cost a lot more if you bought them individually. Like each of the sort of like the packs were $5, and in those $5 you got an adventure pack, you got different characters, you got different weapons, you got different costumes, and that's $5 altogether. That's good. That's a good deal in my opinion. So they can do it. I'm wondering if Nintendo sort of ate some of the cost. If they did, thanks Nintendo. But yeah, you just have to pick and choose your battles. Like, we haven't gone into like microtransactions, but that's kind of a demon within itself because it's there to make the game easier when it doesn't necessarily need to be. Just to end, okay, I know I've said that this will be the last thing I say. Neptunia has a notorious sort of DLC system where $2 you can get like 10 million gold and a whole heap of shit. And I'm like,
yeah, that to me, like, I think Falcom has some of that with Sen and Sen.
Really? I actually didn't know this. Really?
I could be wrong, but I could have swore I saw something about that, like getting some items early and stuff.
I know they've joined the costume community. They have DLC costumes for
Yeah, which I just
yeah.
ignored.
That honestly, as someone who doesn't mind costumes, I can easily say they're not that great. They don't add to the experience for me. It's just I've seen them. It's like, well, none of them's like, oh, that's cool now. And they're just there. It's like they're really cool as they are. So yeah.
So all right, yeah, that's it. DLC. Thanks for listening. That's it. Game over.
No. We could do the more appropriate game over. Dun 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 dun. Snake! Dun 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 dun.
Okay. All right. Yes. So that's a DLC commentary with all the news for this week. May 16th. It's Friday. It's Friday. I'm recording this. It's actually Saturday for Greg. It just gives me enough time to put it up there. As I said earlier in the episode, there, if anybody is interested, give us a message and be like, "Hey, I would like to be on." And then we'd be like, cool, we'd like to have you on.
Just the notion I just came up with just then, if you can think of like a topic for us that you want to hear us talk about, also shoot that as well. And we'll have a look at it. And yeah, if we can offer our 2 cents, we certainly will.
And it's not like we're already out of topics. Our load has not been spent yet. So, thanks for listening, everyone, and you guys enjoy your weekend.
There, everyone.